It is absolutely true. The prestigious villa have already formed a pact with powers such as my World Spirit Guild and the Jai Clan, Yuangang School, Fire God School, Hidden White Sect, Free and Unrestrained Valley, and the Sword God Valley. An 8-sided alliance has been temporarily established. Gu Bo said, 8-sided alliance. Chu Feng was a bit amazed. There are only 8 powers. As for the other small powers, their qualification for attacking the Thousand Monster Mountain has been cancelled because those small powers aren't qualified to get the treasures in the Thousand Monster Mountain. Gu Bo said, what treasure is able to make the 8 big powers establish an alliance to move as one? Chu Feng asked. According to what the Black Toad King said, within the Thousand Monster Mountain, there are truly ancient remains left behind by a mysterious expert. And within those remains, there are many amazing treasures and even possibly elite armaments. Back then, the Monster King, which fought against the Jiang dynasty, was able to have such brutally strong strength only because it stumbled upon a great chance in the remains. And right now, the monstrous beasts of the Thousand Monster Mountain take the treasures as divine objects and they worship them, putting them within an underground palace. Gu Bo explained. After hearing those words, Chu Feng's thoughts quickly changed, because he knew that the thing he wanted to find was found by the 8 great powers. The things that I've told you today are secrets, and only the higher-ups of the 8 powers know. Do not tell anyone else about it. Gu Bo solemnly reminded. Don't worry, I will make sure to keep the secret. That's right, when are they going to make their move? Chu Feng closely asked. They still need to wait a few more days. After all, the remaining 4 Monster King are not characters that are easy to deal with. From what I've heard, if it wasn't because it was the first time that they attacked the Thousand Monster Mountain, and if Zsh Yuan didn't arrive just in time, Qin Lei and the others would have very likely died. So this time, they are preparing to go serious. Gu Bo said. What are they preparing to do? Chu Feng asked. Every single one of the 8 powers must send out a person in the 5th level of the Heaven Realm, as well as 10 Heaven Realm experts, to form a Heaven Realm super powerful team to sweep through the Thousand Monster Mountain in one go. Gu Bo said, this means that they are indeed truly going serious. Chu Feng lightly furrowed his brows. Over 80 Heaven Realm experts, and 8 of them even had the cultivations of the 5th level of the Heaven Realm. Other than the Jiang dynasty, which power could fight against such a formation within the continent of the 9 provinces? It was the same as gathering the ones with the most powerful battle power from the 8 big powers. No matter how much stronger the Thousand Monster Mountain was, despite still having the 4 Monster Kings as foundation, they were still clearly unable to hold such a force back. Although Chu Feng hoped that the prestigious villa's side could suppress the Thousand Monster Mountain, he did not hope that humans completely annihilated the monstrous beasts. If they directly did that, then the treasures would land into the hands of the humans and Chu Feng would be unable to gain benefits, let alone grabbing the treasure he needed. Yeah, this time they are truly going serious. After all, they are extremely attracting treasures. A elite armament, that's a thing that can cause people to go mad. But the strengths of the 4 Monster Kings cannot be underestimated. After all, the physiques of monstrous beasts have always been extremely powerful, especially the 4 Monster Kings. They are all monstrous beasts that have special blood, and if they stake their lives on it, I'm afraid that even the alliance of the 8 powers will have some troubles. So this time, the ones who are sent out are the ones in the old generation. Big brother Xu Zhongyu tried his best to join the battle, but he was refused by the elders. Gu Bo spoke the secrets, which could not be revealed to the outside, to Chu Feng in detail, because he did not take Chu Feng as an outsider. From then on, after the time of a few days, Gu Bo came over again and told him that the vice head of his World Spirit Guild, as well as some manager elders, secretly arrived at the prestigious villa. And similarly, the vice chief of the Jai clan as well as some manager elders arrived as well. Then after 2 days, Gu Bo came over again and told Chu Feng that the head of the Yuangang School, the head of the Fire God School, the head of the Hidden White Sect, and the head of the Free and Unrestrained Valley personally led manager elders and arrived in the prestigious villa. And at the same night, the head of the Sword God Valley as well as peak experts of the Sword God Valley also secretly arrived in the prestigious villa. The eight-sided alliance had all arrived, and a battle was going to be commenced with a touch. On the next morning, the head of the prestigious villa called everyone who was participating in the marriage gathering to the summit of the mountain peak once again, and he first expressed his sorrow for the people who had unluckily fallen in the Thousand Monster Mountain. Then after that, he took the initiative to hold himself responsible and promised a large amount of compensation to the powers that had members who perished. And at the end, he announced one thing, and it was that the marriage gathering was still going to continue. However, this time, they weren't going to enter the Thousand Monster Mountain for any event. They were to mingle with the people who were participating in the marriage gathering within the prestigious villa. This time, the limit was 12 days. 12 days later, the ladies who were from the prestigious villa would state the name of the man they liked on the summit of the mountain peak. And at that time, it would also be when the curtains of the marriage gathering perfectly fell. 12 days later, the curtains of the marriage gathering will perfectly fall. The curtains will indeed perfectly fall, because at that time, it will be when their eight-sided alliance return victoriously after splitting up the treasures in the Thousand Monster Mountain. At that instant, Chu Feng was muttering to himself in his own palace. After finishing the announcements regarding the marriage gathering in the morning, the head of the prestigious villa, Qin Lei, left the prestigious villa, and the ones who left along with him were the peak big characters from the 7 other powers. The location they were heading towards was naturally the Thousand Monster Mountain, and Chu Feng also carried out his final preparations. In the past days when he didn't leave the house, he was not locking himself in to rest. From morning to night, without pause, he was thinking back and studying the map of the Thousand Monster Mountain that the mysterious monstrous beast showed him back then. Chu Feng had to go back to the Thousand Monster Mountain because it was his last chance. He could not let the treasure, which could raise his spirit power, be landed into the hands of others. However, this time, there were truly too many experts who were heading towards the Thousand Monster Mountain. The most important thing was that, when facing the precious treasure, Chu Feng did not have any allies. No matter if it was a human or a monstrous beast, either one of them would be his enemy. So Chu Feng had to more deeply understand the structure of the Thousand Monster Mountain. He had to understand the area that hid the treasure. But sadly, Chu Feng's memory was limited, and the records of the map were also limited. Chu Feng only knew the road that headed towards the underground palace, but he could not find out what kind of dangers were within it. Asterisk whoosh asterisk suddenly, a row of purple light flashed in front of Chu Feng, and a pretty figure had already appeared in front of him. That purple-colored skirt, that beautiful face, that speed that even Chu Feng could not see clearly. It was none other than Zi Ling. "You girl, I say, can you not appear so randomly? You frightened me. Should I blame you for that?" Chu Feng was pondering the things about the Thousand Monster Mountain, and when Zi Ling suddenly disturbed him like that, he could have indeed jumped from fright. "Tch, if you do nothing guilty, you need not fear the knock of ghosts. What were you thinking about just now? So sneaky." Zi Ling's beautiful big eyes were spinning around, as if she was going to see through the things in Chu Feng's heart. Pa, you're the one who's so sneaky. Speak up front. In the middle of the day you jump through my window. Are you planning to commit immoral acts?" Chu Feng chuckled, then quickly after, he cast his evil eyes towards Zi Ling's delicate and alluring body. And especially after seeing the plump curve protruding in front of her chest, Chu Feng felt that he was burning in lust, and uncontrollably, there was a reaction below him. If you look a bit more, I'll scoop your eyes out." Seeing that, Zi Ling's white, glossy, and smooth little face instantly became a bright red apple, and she extended her hand, preparing to hit Chu Feng. "Fine, I won't look, But speak the truth. Are there some things you want from me since you looked for me? I haven't told anyone about you having a divine body." Chu Feng chuckled and said, "You?" Hearing the two words divine body, Ziling's little face instantly tensed up, and with a leap, she arrived in front of Chu Feng, and she used her hand to tightly seal Chu Feng's mouth shut. At the same time, she spread her spirit power out, and only after discovering that there were no other people in their surroundings did she breathe a sigh of relief. She looked at Chu Feng with a bit of resentment and said, "I came to look for you because I have something that I want you to help me with." "What thing?" Chu Feng got rid of Ziling's hand and curiously asked. "I'm sure that you've heard of the matter of my prestigious villa establishing an alliance with the other powers such as the World Spirit Guild. Within the Thousand Monster Mountain, there is indeed a treasure trove. I don't have much interest towards the treasures inside, but I am very interested in powerful martial skills, so I want to go over to take a look." Ziling said, "Since you want to go to the Thousand Monster Mountain, then just directly go along with Qin Lei and the others. With your status, it is possible that they won't bring you along if you want to go with them." Chu Feng asked. "Of course they cannot bring me. This time, all those who are moving out are the experts in the old generation. If I go, that is equal to breaking the rules. Besides, even if they were willing to bring me along, I wouldn't have went. There would be too many restrictions, and it would be quite boring. I want to go myself." Ziling curled her little mouth, and on her face of absolute beauty, a tiny bit of playful cuteness appeared. "Then why me? What can I possibly help you with?" Chu Feng feigned confusion. From start to finish, he was still cautious towards Ziling. "Don't pretend anymore. Don't think that I don't know your goal for coming here. Isn't it also for the treasures in the Thousand Monster Mountain? My grandfather has already spoken to me about it." Ziling fiercely stared at Chu Feng. "What did he say to you?" Chu Feng slightly frowned. He wasn't afraid of anything that Chuanyuan said to Ziling. And what he was actually afraid of was the things that Ziling would say to Chuanyuan. After all, he was a person who bullied Ziling before. He said that you have a special map. He also said that he was sure that the map you have is the same as the one the Black Toad King handed over. So if I want to go to the Thousand Monster Mountain for adventuring, I need to bring you along." Ziling curled her lips, and after hearing those words, Chu Feng sank into contemplation. He was pondering whether Chuanyuan was an enemy or friend, and what kind of thoughts that the mysterious old man had. At the end, Chu Feng was still unable to think of an exact answer, but he knew that Chuanyuan would absolutely not harm him for now, and Ziling would also not harm him for now. Also, right now, he wanted to go to the Thousand Monster Mountain as well. If he had Ziling as assistance, that would be the best. After all, her divine body was very strong, and it had battle power which did not lose to the heaven realm. The most important thing was that she was even a Blue Cloak World Spiritist. When scouting out unknown things, the Blue Cloak World Spiritist's special abilities were truly too useful. So Chu Feng nodded his head and said, "Then we shouldn't waste any more time and let's move right now. We must catch up to them." "Wait." But just at that time, Ziling stopped Chu Feng and said, "Before anything, let us agree on some things first. This time, we are secretly operating, and it would be for the best to avoid any contact with the people from the eight-sided powers. If there are any gains in this operation, everything will only belong to you and me." "I agree on that." Chu Feng smiled and nodded his head. It was also something he wanted to say. "Also, if martial skills or secret skills are discovered, they belong to me. Profound medicines and heaven medicines will belong to you." Ziling added. "What about elite armaments?" Chu Feng asked. "You truly believe that there will be an elite armament in the Thousand Monster Mountain?" "We cannot be sure that there is, but we also cannot be sure that there isn't." "What if there is? Then we'll discuss it at that time." After speaking, Ziling pulled Chu Feng and just rushed out of the window. The current prestigious villa was tightly guarded, not only to the outside, but also to the inside. During this period of time, No one was allowed to leave the prestigious villa. But what status did Ziling have? Her grandfather was Zhuan, the current person who fortified the position of the current prestigious villa. So if Ziling wanted to leave, it would naturally be relaxed and unrestrained. "Oi, girl, why aren't you bringing a colored crane when coming out? Are you planning to walk to the Thousand Monster Mountain?" After leaving the prestigious villa, Chu Feng discovered that Ziling did not have any intentions to call a white-headed eagle or a colored crane. The girl seemed to prepare to travel on foot. "I have always liked to rely on myself when going out." Ziling disdainfully looked at Chu Feng, then quickly after, her footsteps moved and under her, pretty brilliance rose, and after that, she rose into the sky, charging straight into the sky. The girl actually grasped a bodily martial skill that allowed her to walk on air, and looking at its appearance, it seemed to be a lot more superior than Chu Feng's imperial sky technique. It was because the speed of Ziling walking on air was extremely quick, and Chu Feng could only barely catch up to Ziling when he used the imperial sky technique to the utmost. The most important thing was that, although Chu Feng used all the power of the imperial sky technique, Ziling was clearly not using all her strength. In a situation like that, and with a clever thought by Chu Feng, he changed his steps, and the special martial skill, the dragon traveling through 9 heavens, was displayed by him. The azure-colored little dragon reappeared under him, and instantly, he passed Ziling, and very quickly, he disappeared in the horizon in front. This guy. Seeing Chu Feng, who went towards the distance with extreme speed, Ziling's eyes quickly widened, and her eyes were filled with shock. She was stunned by Chu Feng's terrifying speed. Asterisk swish asterisk naturally, Chu Feng was not going to fling Ziling behind. As he rode on the Azure Dragon, and after going around in a circle in the air, he returned to Ziling's side and said while chuckling, "Girl, how is it? My steed is quite nice, right? You relied on that to get rid of Song Ching Feng and the others." Ziling's eyes were carefully assessing the Azure Dragon under Chu Feng, as if she was trying to see through how Chu Feng's martial skill was condensed out. Facing that question, Chu Feng did not reply, and he only said, Come behind your big brother here and I'll give you a ride. HMPH, you want to take small advantages of me again. Don't even think about it." Ziling curled her lips and saw through Chu Feng's bad intentions. "Aren't you overthinking too much? How can I even be in the mood for that today? The people of the 8-sided powers have already left half a day earlier than us. With your speed, there is no way to catch up to them. If their might is truly like snapping bamboo and they directly cause the defense of the monstrous beasts to collapse and get all the treasures, wouldn't you and I have wasted this journey?" Chu Feng explained. Hearing those words, Ziling also didn't feel that it was unreasonable. So her alluring body rushed behind Chu Feng and she sat on the Azure Dragon. He, that's right. Tightly hug your big brother here. Don't even think about it. Then you better sit stably. Chu Feng chuckled, then quickly after, suddenly accelerated. The force that came suddenly caused Ziling to shriek, and her body abruptly leaned back, almost falling off of the Azure Dragon. As she could do nothing about it, she could only extend her hands and tightly grab onto Chu Feng's clothes to maintain stability. It had to be said that the speed of the dragon traveling through 9 heavens was truly fast. With merely short 2 days, Chu Feng caught up to the people from the 8-sided powers. However, Chu Feng did not go near them, and he only secretly tailed behind them. After the 8-sided power, which knew the location of the treasures, entered the core of the Thousand Monster Mountain, they directly attacked, and they wanted to open the entrance of the treasure trove. They who had gathered over 80 Heaven Realm experts swept through everything, and there was not a single monstrous beast that could stop them. They directly opened the entrance to the underground palace and entered. At that instant, Chu Feng and Ziling originally wanted to follow behind them and enter, but suddenly, Ziling's expression changed and she pulled Chu Feng back. At first, Chu Feng didn't understand why Ziling stopped himself, but very quickly, within a distant forest, a body shot out. That body's speed was extremely fast, and with several jumps, he rushed into the entrance to the underground palace. But Chu Feng and Zi Ling still recognized that person. It was the little genius of the Jiang dynasty, Jiang Wushang. This guy is indeed also here for the treasure. Zi Ling also guessed the reason why Jiang Wushang disappeared as well as what his goal was, and quickly after, she asked Chu Feng, "Are you sure that this is where the treasures are and that it isn't a trap laid by monstrous beasts? The treasures should be here, but whether this is a trap or not is unknown." Chu Feng said, "Follow me. Remember, do not use your spirit power because within the 8-sided powers, there are at least 10 Blue Cloak World Spiritists. With your current strength, as long as you use spirit power, you will be discovered by them." Zi Ling seriously reminded, and Chu Feng also seriously nodded his head. Naturally, he knew how powerful they were. So on the road, he didn't use spirit power, and he let Zi Ling detect everything. That was also why just as Jiang Wushang neared, Zi Ling felt it, yet Chu Feng did not have any reactions. Following that, Zi Ling and Chu Feng tailed behind Jiang Wushang, and they headed towards the underground palace passageway that the 8-sided powers opened. The 8-sided powers were too strong. On the road, their might was like snapping bamboo. No matter if it was a monstrous beast, or a mechanism, or a spirit formation, nothing could stop them. But on the road, Chu Feng gradually felt that something was off. As for where, he was unclear either. Only when Jiang Wushang suddenly stopped following the 8-sided powers did Chu Feng and Zi Ling discover which part was off. The underground palace at that place was already very wide. Actually, although it was said to be an underground palace, it would better be said to be a broad underground cave, because other than some fluorescent rocks or some unextinguished fires, there weren't any decorations, and it was abnormally simple. And when the 8-sided powers were continuing deeper, Jiang Wushang suddenly stopped walking when he arrived in front of a wall. He took out a special object which looked like a key, but that was not the key point. The key point was that with the key, he opened a big door from the wall, and from that door, extremely special aura was emanating. After that aura was emanated, Chu Feng's face couldn't help but change, because he astonishedly discovered that the aura was extremely familiar. He felt it when he was in the Asura Ghost Tower, and he could even feel it on Egge's body. It was the aura of Asura. However, after Jiang Wushang walked through the door that emanated the Asura aura, he disappeared, and the face of the wall returned to its original form. Indeed, this guy knows some things. It seems like only the path he went is the right one. After Chu Feng neared, he started to carefully look at the rock wall. With his spirit formation power, he could feel that the wall was very special, yet he had no way of opening it. So he could only cast a pleading gaze towards Zi Ling and said, "How about it? Can you open it? I'm not too sure. This wall is too strange, but I can give it a try." Zi Ling also didn't have confidence in opening the wall, but in that situation, she could not do anything else, and she had to use everything she had. As insurance, Zi Ling first laid a concealment spirit formation in that land, and with that, no one would be able to see her and Chu Feng there, and no one would be able to see what she was doing. After laying the concealment spirit formation, with a thought, a 2-meter wide and 3-meter tall black hole appeared in front of her. The black hole was filled with symbols, and the bottom couldn't be seen. It gave out an aura that did not belong to this world, and it was as if it extended towards another world. Suddenly, within the black hole, a figure appeared, and at the end a person walked out of the black hole. No, it wasn't a person. To be more precise, it seemed more like a consciousness, yet there were clear differences than a consciousness. It was a female. Although her appearance wasn't very beautiful, she had quite the atmosphere around her. The most important part was that her height reached 2.5 meters, and golden light shot everywhere from her body. The clothes she wore also had quite the atmosphere, and the aura she gave off was the second level of the heaven realm. "Master, I pay my respects." After the strange female appeared, she respectfully greeted Zi Ling. "Right now, I need to lay a fairy spirit formation, and I require assistance from your fairy power." Ziling did not speak any useless words, and she directly went to work, starting to lay a spirit formation on the wall. At the same time, the strange female emanated special power from inside her body, and it endlessly blended into the spirit formation Ziling laid. That power was very special. It was like the sunlight, yet there were slight differences. All in all, it caused people to be extremely comfortable, as if the world's positive energy was condensing. The most important thing was that the power was also very strong, and it even made Chu Feng felt that such a magical power shouldn't even exist in the world from the start. Eggy, this wouldn't be the world spirit that made a contract with Ziling, right? Chu Feng curiously asked in his heart. That's right. This girl is quite impressive. She is actually able to connect to the fairy spirit world and make a world spirit, who is 2 levels stronger than her, serve her. Even Eggy revealed her rare, amazed expression. Fairy spirit world. Are the world spirits from the fairy spirit world really strong? Chu Feng curiously asked. Them being the strongest is impossible, but they are absolutely not weak. It can be said that they are the second strongest within the 7 spirit worlds. Eggy explained. Then the strongest. Which world is the strongest world? Chu Feng closely asked. Is there even a need to ask that? Of course, the strongest is my Asura spirit world. Any world spiritist that can establish a contract with a world spirit from my Asura spirit world can show off just because of that. Eggy said proudly, and after hearing those words, Chu Feng was very happy as well, because that at least meant that the world he could connect to was the strongest world in the 7 spirit worlds. That's not right. World spirits can't leave the bodies of their masters, right? How can Ziling's world spirit come out to help her? But with some more careful thinking, Chu Feng felt that it wasn't too right. After all, Eggy in his body was also very strong, but she could only remain locked in his body, and she couldn't come out to help him. At most, she could only borrow his body to display her own power. So he was thinking, if Eggy could also come out to help him, how good would that be? After all, the power that Eggy grasped was very strong, even terrifying. Besides, if he was accompanied by an exceptional little beauty like Eggy, in the future, he would no longer be alone by himself. His life would also become extremely exciting and even more interesting. Idiot, who said that world spirits can't be separated from the bodies of their masters. If they can't be separated from their masters' bodies, then how will world spirits help their masters? Where would their value be? Eggy fiercely disdained Chu Feng. Then, according to what you've said, world spirits can be separated from the bodies of the masters, and with their own awareness enter our world. Chu Feng got more and more happy. He truly, really hoped that Eggy could accompany him with a physical body. It can be done within a reasonable range, and size of this range depends on the strength of the master. Of course, if you want a world spirit to leave the spiritual world, enter your world and do things with their own awareness, you need to create a gate that links to your spiritual world, and this gate is called the World Spirit Gate. Naturally, if you want to open the World Spirit Gate, you need to at least grasp the power of blue-colored spirit formations, which also means that you must reach the strength of Blue Cloak world spiritists. Eggy explained. Then doesn't that mean in the future, as long as become a Blue Cloak world spiritist, you can be separated from my spiritual world and live together with me? At that instant, Chu Feng was elated, because he knew that Eggy didn't like staying in his spiritual world. After all, how could such a cheerful and lively little girl like Eggy like being alone? She should like liveliness quite a bit. And after hearing those words, Eggy's heart warmed, because she understood in her heart Chu Feng's intentions. So she sweetly smiled and said, "Yeah, for my freedom you need to keep it up." And just at that time, Ziling's fairy spirit formation already finished being laid, and it gave off dazzling golden-colored radiance. The strange thing was that, as it was enveloped by the golden-colored radiance, a gate had actually slowly appeared from the perfect and undamaged wall, and it also slowly opened. Ziling succeeded. Girl, not bad. Seeing that, Chu Feng laughed and said, "Less speaking, quickly follow." With a thought, Ling reopened a world spirit gate, and her world spirit also went back to Ling's spiritual world on her own. After that, Ling speedily walked towards the insides of the wall door, and Chu Feng also hurriedly followed. Boom just as Chu Feng and Ling entered, the gate behind them shut, and at that instant, Chu Feng discovered that the passageway was a lot more exquisite than the cave outside. The walls everywhere there were made by special rocks. On them, beautiful patterns were carved and an indescribable atmosphere appeared. The most important part was that, on the wall, Chu Feng felt special spirit formation powers, and those powers emanated the auras of Asura. The master who created this was also a world spiritist who was connected with an Asura world spirit. Eggy said, "Is it that monstrous beast trapped in the Asura ghost tower?" Chu Feng asked. "I'm not sure about that." Eggy shook her head. Following the passageway and going forward, their line of sight became more and more broad, and Chu Feng and Ling also discovered some mechanisms. However, those mechanisms were all nullified just now, and without even thinking, they knew that Jiang Wushang did it. In a situation like that, Chu Feng and Ling couldn't help but quicken their steps because they were afraid that Jiang Wushang would find the treasures first, and if that happened, they were going to lose quite a bit. Quickly follow. Suddenly, Ling's eyes flashed as if she felt something. She started to use a bodily martial skill and ran with extreme speed in the passageway. Without delay, Chu Feng also used the Imperial Wind technique and quickly followed. With such speed, Chu Feng and Ling quickly arrived at the end, and a palace dazzling in gold and jade appeared in front of them. That place was truly dazzling in gold and jade because everything there was made out of gold. It emanated the radiance of gold. Also in the middle of the palace, there was a huge area of treasures, all sorts of strange treasures, all sorts of origin beads and profound medicines were piled up into a small mountain. Within the little mountain that was caused by piling treasures, there were even several extremely ancient books. They were also placed in the middle, and obviously they were not mysterious techniques. They were martial skills. Haha, they are finally found by me. After seeing those, Ling rejoiced and her beautiful body leaped. As her skirt fluttered, she already flew quickly towards the palace. Wait! But at that instant, Chu Feng hurriedly yelled to stop her because he astonishedly discovered that in that palace, he didn't see any traces of Jiang Wushang, yet that place was clearly the end. Indeed. Just as Ling stepped into the palace had actually twisted, and the scene in front of their eyes started to quickly change. It shrunk into a lump and started to wrap around Ling. "Chu Feng, save me." At that very instant, Ling originally wanted to evade it, but her efforts were in vain as the twisting scene already wrapped around her, causing her to lose her ability to escape. What a powerful illusionary formation. After that place completely disappeared, the real scene appeared in front of Chu Feng's eyes. Currently in front of Chu Feng, how was that even any palace dazzling in gold and jade? It was a quagmire condensed with a dominatingly strong spirit formation, and within the quagmire, Ling was quickly sinking, and no matter how she struggled, she could not escape her surroundings. "It's you." At the same time, a familiar voice also rang out. It was Jiang Wushang. At that instant, Jiang Wushang was also sank into the quagmire, and over half of his body already sank in. After seeing Chu Feng and Ling, his face was filled with shock. Whoosh 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 the current Chu Feng didn't dare to be slow, and he hurried laid a spirit formation. Quickly after he sat cross-leggedly, overlaid his palms, then abruptly yelled explosively, "Break!" After speaking those words, within the spirit formation that had floating light lingering, 2 rows of light shot out. After that light enveloped Ling and Jiang Wushang, countless symbols like bugs started to drill into the quagmire. With that, the sinking speed of Ling and Jiang Wushang had actually slowed down. Quickly after that, the hand seals in front of Chu Feng's chest changed, and two spirit formation chains condensed by symbols shot out from the spirit formation, and at the end, coiled around Ziling's and Jiang Wushang's body. Haya. After that, Chu Feng yelled explosively again and simultaneously. The palms that he overlaid suddenly, tightly clenched, and his entire body tensed up. Also, his body started to turn pale white, and droplets of sweat, as big as beans, never-endingly slid down his face. Boundless spirit formation power was unrestrainedly being channeled into the spirit formation. But luckily, as Chu Feng gave it his all, the spirit formation chains also started to retract, and Ziling and Jiang Wushang, who had already sank into the quagmire, were slowly rising. In that situation, it caused both Ziling and Jiang Wushang to be extremely joyed, because it meant that Chu Feng's methods were working, and Chu Feng could save them. Asterisk whoosh asterisk finally, Ziling was the first to be pulled out. Without the interference of the illusion, her body was as light as swallow, and her original strength returned. With a beautiful angle, she landed in front of Chu Feng. But just as she landed, her hand clenched to form a fist, and within her hand, she condensed a spirit formation sword out. Quickly after, she sliced down towards the spirit formation chain that Chu Feng was using to pull Jiang Wushang up. With a snapping sound, she had actually cut the spirit formation chain. "What are you doing?" Seeing that scene, Chu Feng was suddenly shocked and he couldn't help but loudly yell. On the other hand, Ziling was abnormally calm. After dissipating the spirit formation sword in her hand, she lightly rubbed her hand and composedly said, "You cannot save him." "Why can't I save him?" Chu Feng's face was filled with confusion. "Is there even a need to ask that? He is our opponent and he will take the treasures away from you and me." Ziling explained, I want take your treasures. Save me, Chu Feng, save me. As long as you save me, I will leave this place immediately." Jiang Wushang begged. When faced with death, even the young man with a noble identity expressed fear from his heart. "Don't believe him. If I'm not mistaken, he is a person from the Jiang dynasty. If you save him today, even if he leaves this place right now in the future, he will certainly retaliate towards you and me." Ziling interrupted. "No, Chu Feng, believe me. I will absolutely not retaliate against either of you. I will not mention today's matter to anyone." Seeing that Ziling was truly not going to save a dying person, Jiang Wushang completely panicked. And at that instant, Chu Feng tightly furrowed his brows, and his gaze was like a torch. His thoughts were quickly spinning around, and he was pondering many questions. At the end, with his eagle-like sharp gaze, Chu Feng tightly stared at Jiang Wushang's face and said, "Jiang Wushang, out of kindness, the two of us save you today. I believe that you aren't a person who repays kindness with hatred." Asterisk Hualalala asterisk after speaking, Chu Feng overlaid his palms again, and another spirit formation chain shot out from the spirit formation in front of him and coiled around Jiang Wushang's body again. And this time, Ziling's eyes glittered, and within the gaze that she looked at Chu Feng with was filled with complaint. But she did not stop Chu Feng, and she only silently looked at everything that was happening. Finally, Chu Feng successfully saved Jiang Wushang out, and indeed, Jiang Wushang did not attack Chu Feng or Ziling. However, after being saved, his previous pettiness faded away, and what was traded back was his former prideful attitude. However, it could still be seen that he was extremely grateful towards Chu Feng. "Chu Feng, I, Jiang Wushang, have remembered today's favor. If there's a chance in the future, I will certainly come back to repay you. But as a word of advice, this place isn't a place where you or I can explore. It's still best to leave this place together with me." Jiang Wushang said to Chu Feng, "I've taken your good intentions to heart, but since I've come, I, Chu Feng, will absolutely not return with no achievements. Leave. I hope that you can honor your promise and don't tell anyone about today's matters." Chu Feng said, "Don't worry. I, Jiang Wushang, have always followed my promises. Since you won't listen to my advice and you insist on going forward, then take this. Perhaps it will be of some help to you." Seeing that, Jiang Wushang no longer urged Chu Feng, and from his cosmos sack, he took out a rolled-up sheepskin paper and handed it over to Chu Feng. Then quickly afterwards, he walked back on the path that he came from, and only after sending Jiang Wushang off with his gaze did Chu Feng open the sheepskin scroll. He discovered that it was a map, yet it wasn't a complete map. The map recorded the entrance to enter this palace, and recorded the locations of some mechanisms, as well as the method to nullify them. However, not all the mechanisms were recorded on it. For example, the quagmire in front of them and the illusionary formation just now. They were not on the map, so no wonder Jiang Wushang got caught by them. This map isn't too important, and we still need to rely on ourselves. Ziling also walked over and looked at the map. Afterwards, she started to lay a spirit formation on the ground, and after the spirit formation was complete, it became strands of rainbow lights and were condensed into a bridge. It went over the quagmire in front and connected to the other side of the quagmire. This quagmire has suction power, and by walking on air, one would certainly be sucked in. It is still better to be more careful. After speaking, Ziling went first and stepped onto the rainbow bridge and crossed. She, who was too careless before, also started to be more cautious this time. After that, Chu Feng and Ziling walked forward together and broke through obstacle after obstacle. At the end, they discovered a problem. The obstacles recorded on the map was rather aged, and they seemed to have already been existing for many years. While breaking through the obstacles, they would restore themselves back after a period of time. The methods were extremely brilliant, and if they didn't have the map, even if Ziling wanted break through them, she would be required to spend a lot of power, and it was even possible that she couldn't break through them. Similarly, there were many mechanisms like the illusionary formation just now. The map did not record such mechanisms. However, those mechanisms did not seem to be laid for a very long period of time. Although they were extremely brilliant, they weren't as exceptional as the ones recorded on the map. That stated a problem. Once before, there were two people here, and the mechanisms were laid in two eras. Also, even if there was a treasure here, there shouldn't be so many mechanisms laid, which meant that the mechanisms were used to prevent intruders. But it was better to say that they seemed to be testing the intruder, because the obstacles later on clearly got harder and harder. Yet they weren't impossible to break through. The most important thing was that even though many mechanisms would cause a person to die, they would still leave a sliver of life for them. For example, before, if it wasn't a quagmire but another type of trap, perhaps Ziling and Jiang Wushang would have already died. But luckily, Ziling's spirit power was very strong, and her strength wasn't weak as well, especially her fairy spirit world's world spirit. Her battle power was so outstandingly strong, and in a situation like that, Chu Feng and Ziling finally arrived at the end of the map. In that place, a vast palace appeared. That palace was extremely big, and it was even like a plaza. It was big enough to hold several hundreds of thousands of people, and the general structure was exactly the same as the palace before, which was dazzling in gold and jade. However, in the middle of the palace, there were no treasures. The place could even not be said to be dazzling in gold and jade. Instead, it was utterly ragged because the walls all around them were destroyed by someone. The walls are very special, and even with my current strength, I am unable to break any slightest bit of it. The person who did this must be very strong. Ziling observed the walls carefully and sighed with a face full of shock. These walls seemed to have recorded something before, so the person who destroyed them must have wanted to prevent others from seeing them right. Chu Feng also found some inklings. Truly, damn it, if I'm not mistaken, the things recorded on the walls before should be the things left behind by that martial cultivation expert. And the one who destroyed them should be the monster king that was defeated by the old ancestor of the Jiang dynasty that year. After all, from legends, it only became so powerful because it got some inheritance. Ziling was tightly clenching her teeth, and she seemed extremely angry, purely because of the Monster King's own selfishness. It destroyed the inheritance left behind by a senior in order for others to be unable to gain benefits from it. It was truly infuriating. Wait, this doesn't seem to be the end of the underground palace. Suddenly, Chu Feng spoke. Why so? Ziling curiously asked. Look here, Chu Feng pointed at the map in his own hands. This is. After Ziling approached and carefully looked at the area that Chu Feng was pointing towards, even her expression couldn't help changing. The area Chu Feng pointed at was the palace right now. But on the map, there was a thing in the center of the palace. Yet at that instant there wasn't. The most important thing was that, if one looked closely, they would discover that the palace actually had 2 floors. But at that instant, only one floor appeared, which meant that there was either another floor below the palace or another floor above the palace. This place was not the real end. When Ziling discovered that change, she arrived at the place where the map indicated there was an object, and laid a spirit formation at that place. After all, with a light yell of "Open!" the spirit formation started to give out dazzling brilliance, and at the same time, in the direction of the spirit formation, a stage of rock appeared with 7-colored radiance lingering around it. After that stage of rock appeared, the brilliance got brighter and brighter, and at the end, it projected up and enveloped the entire palace's ceiling. But the strangest thing was that, as it was being covered by the 7-colored radiance, the ceiling of the palace started to change, and the special rocks got more and more faint, and finally started to disappear. The thing that appeared in front of Chu Feng's and Ziling's eyes was another palace. The shape of the palace was the same as the one they were in currently, but the only thing different was that, in midair of the palace's center, a row of symbols were floating. Those symbols were floating in the air, and they emanated strange energy, as if within the delicate symbols, they contained tens of thousands of changes. And the most important part was that, outside of the symbols, there were 4 golden-colored big words floating in the air. A rank 9 martial skill. It's a rank 9 martial skill. After seeing the 4 big words, rank 9 martial skill, Ziling's eyes instantly lit up. Her alluring body leaped. She rose, and while extending her hand, she flew over towards the symbols that concealed the rank 9 martial skill and grabbed. This girl, such a quick speed. Seeing that scene, Chu Feng tightly frowned because he knew the reason why Ziling went over so quickly was certainly because she was afraid that he would go over before her and take away the rank 9 martial skill. Obviously, the girl had still not completely trusted him yet. But before Ziling's thin and long hands touched the symbols, a strange energy surge started to spread, and instantly, it permeated the top area of the entire palace. Whoosh 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 immediately after, around Ziling, several golden-colored spirit formation chains appeared. The spirit formation chains were like water snakes as they coiled around Ziling's body and tied her tightly. Damn it! At that instant, Ziling used her entire body's power and wanted to get rid of it, but her efforts were in vain as just as she used strength, the golden-colored chains quickly shrunk, and they were going to be embedded into her bones. The agony of feeling that her physical body was almost going to shatter caused Ziling's little face to instantly turn deathly white, and from her forehead, large amounts of sweat slid down, and because of the pain, she couldn't help but shriek. Why has this happened? This is actually also a mechanism, but I used my spirit power to scout it out, yet there was clearly nothing wrong with it. Seeing Ziling, who was in the upper layer of the palace while suffering torment, Chu Feng's expression slightly changed because he could not see through where the mechanism in the palace was. He didn't know how to save Ziling because the golden-colored spirit formation chain was truly too powerful. The spirit formation power that was condensed out was something that Chu Feng had never seen before, and he could not understand it at all. But just at that time, the air next to Ziling's body suddenly wigged, and quickly after, a figure appeared. It was a consciousness, as his body was half-transparent, but the consciousness was still a world spiritist because he was wearing a world spirit cloak, and his appearance was tightly covered by the cloak. And the thing that shocked Chu Feng the most was the world spirit cloak that the consciousness wore was extremely unordinary. Golden light overflowed out of him, and it had a very imposing grandeur. His cloak was imprinted with symbols, and they were extremely special as well, as if every single symbol had tens of thousands of changes with infinite power. That person was actually wearing a world spirit gold cloak. Gold cloak world spiritist. Chu Feng's face was filled with shock, and he couldn't help but take in a breath of cool air. In the entire continent of the 9 provinces, there was no one who could reach the realm of Purple Cloak World Spiritist, and they were like a legend. But at that instant in front of him, a Gold Cloak World Spiritist had actually appeared. So how was it possible that Chu Feng wasn't shocked? At the same time, the Gold Cloak World Spiritist also cast his gaze towards Chu Feng. His eyes were like an eagle's eyes, and like 2 sharp blades, they pierced through Chu Feng's body, seeing through everything that he was. And Chu Feng had no way of resisting. This is the power of a Gold Cloak World Spiritist. It is too scary. Other than the divine lightning in my dantian, almost everything was seen through by him. Chu Feng was greatly shocked once again, and even cold sweat couldn't help but be left behind on his forehead, because he discovered that the Gold Cloak World Spiritist in front of him was truly too scary. He had never seen such a scary person. With a single glance, he saw through everything. And after looking at Chu Feng, even the Gold Cloak World Spiritist expressed a bit of surprise. Then quickly after, he spoke with a voice of a middle-aged man. You have actually established a contract with an Asura world spirit at such a young age. You're not simple. Boy, what is your relationship with this lady? Senior, she is my friend, Chu Feng respectfully replied. As he faced that person, he didn't dare to be disrespectful in any way because he was too strong. The power that he grasped was absolutely unimaginable by Chu Feng, and perhaps with a thought from him, Chu Feng would disappear like a strand of smoke. Only a friend? The Gold Cloak World Spiritist indifferently asked, and there was a bit of suspicion in his voice. No, not only a friend, she is the one whom I love. Senior, I beg you, please let her go. Chu Feng pleaded. Let her go? It seems like you want to save her. The Gold Cloak World Spiritist curiously asked. Yes, of course. Senior, as long as you let her go, I will be willing to do whatever you want me to do. You can torture me, but I hope that you can let her go. For some reason, when Chu Feng saw Zi Ling's painful appearance, he could really not endure it. Even if he endured the pain for her, he would be willing to. So it is still that kind of foolish love. But you must understand clearly that when she saw my martial skill, she didn't even consider your feelings. Her selfishness was extremely strong and she wanted to take it herself. Is a female such as her worth it for you to love? The Gold Cloak World Spiritist seemed to be reminding Chu Feng that Zi Ling was an extremely selfish female. Senior, perhaps in your perspective, she isn't worth it, but in my eyes she is. She is worth it for me to love her without regards of myself. Chu Feng honestly and calmly smiled, and his face was filled with sincerity. Chu Feng didn't truly love Zi Ling. He had always had a heart of caution towards her, so how could he love her? However, he didn't want Zi Ling to be harmed. Also, he knew that if the Gold Cloak World Spiritist in front of him didn't want him and Zi Ling to leave alive, it didn't matter what Chu Feng said. When facing such an expert after intruding into his land and causing him to be displeased, a few simple words of pleading was absolutely not enough to move that expert's heart to cause him to let Chu Feng and Zi Ling go. At that instant, since he hadn't directly attacked to finish off Chu Feng's and Zi Ling's life, and was asking Chu Feng, some questions meant that he didn't want to kill Chu Feng and Zi Ling yet. Or at least, it was like that for now. If he truly didn't want to kill Chu Feng and Zi Ling, then they still had a strand of chance to live. Then at that time, it would be the best time for Chu Feng to take away Zi Ling's heart. Before, no matter how Chu Feng said he liked Zi Ling, she didn't believe it. Instead, she felt disgust and felt that Chu Feng was saying flowery but false words. But in a crucial life and death situation such as this, Zi Ling's inner heart was extremely weak. At this time, by standing out for her to express his heart's intentions was the easiest to move her. Since it was unknown whether they were going to live or not, Chu Feng decided to stake it at this time. He was staking that the Gold Cloak World Spiritist would give them a chance to continue living. Senior, I implore you to let her go and don't torment her. If you have any things you want to do them to me. I'll endure them for her. Chu Feng patted his chest and said with an attitude of charge towards him for Ziling's crimes. Ha ha, interesting. Lady, you have quite the charm to be able to make such an excellent young man face you like this. The Gold Cloak World Spiritist looked at Ziling, then after said to Chu Feng again, you cannot endure her crimes. However, since you insist on saving her, I will still give you a chance. Asterisk whoosh asterisk. As he spoke, he waved the sleeve of his cloak, extended his palm and lightly pointed at Chu Feng. Then, within the palace that Chu Feng was in, bone-piercing chilliness encircled him. The chilliness was extremely domineering, and almost instantly, it turned the palace into an ice house, and Chu Feng's surroundings became ice. Even if Chu Feng used his profound power to block, the chilliness still invaded his body. At that moment on his skin, layers of frost was condensed, and that frost was rapidly increasing. Asterisk whoosh 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 asterisk. Quickly after, the Gold Cloak World Spiritist waved his fingers in the air, and very quickly, in front of Chu Feng, a picture scroll that was 2 meters tall and 10 meters long appeared. Remember the contents of this picture scroll, the Gold Cloak World Spiritist said. In reality, before the Gold Cloak World Spiritist even spoke, Chu Feng already cast his gaze onto the picture scroll and diligently engraved the contents of the picture scroll in his head. Asterisk whoosh asterisk. However, just as the Gold Cloak World Spiritist finished speaking, his big sleeve was suddenly waved, and at the same time, the picture scroll was fragmented and they were scattered within the vast palace. If you can restore this picture scroll to its original form within an hour, she can be saved. If you cannot restore this picture scroll within an hour, then she will be split into pieces by this spirit formation chain, and a complete corpse of the one you love won't even be left behind. The Gold Cloak World Spiritist said. Asterisk swish asterisk. After hearing those words, Chu Feng didn't hesitate, and with a leap, he waved his hand and profound power surged out. He wanted to gather the picture scroll fragments floating in the vast palace. However, the thing that made him feel helplessness was that his power was unable to move those picture scroll fragments. The other thing that shocked him was at that instant, within the palace, he was unable to use any martial skills, and his feet were abnormally heavy. Every step he walked required extreme effort. At the same time, the bone-piercing chilliness was endlessly eating away Chu Feng's body. Chu Feng felt that his body got more and more numb, more and more stiff, and gradually he was going to lose control over his own body. Damn it, you sealed my power. If you do this, how can I restore this picture scroll within an hour? Chu Feng was a bit furious. The Gold Cloak World Spiritist simply gave him an unfinishable problem. That's your problem. The Gold Cloak World Spiritist laughed as if he was watching a good show, then after, he added, that's right. Although you won't die if you don't restore this picture scroll within an hour, the chilliness here is strong, and with your cultivation, you have no way of bearing past an hour, which also means that you will also die before an hour. Of course, the exit is over there. If you don't want to die, you can leave at any time, but if you leave, she will die. As for whether you want to risk your life to save her, or to die together here, will depend on your own capabilities. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, the Gold Cloak World Spiritist laughed loudly, and within his laughter, his body also started to dissipate and at the end, blended into the palace above. Ah tilde tilde tilde. And after the Gold Cloak World Spiritist disappeared, Ziling shrieked again in pain. Raising his head to look, Chu Feng astonishedly discovered that the golden-colored spirit formation chain that coiled around her body had actually started to shrink again. Although the shrinking speed was extremely slow, it still caused great pain to Ziling. If that went on, Ziling's body was truly going to be stifled to death. Damn it. I don't believe that I cannot restore this picture scroll within 1 hour. Seeing that, Chu Feng did not hesitate anymore. The two lightning in his blood surged, and his aura instantly climbed to the 5th level of the profound realm. And following his rise in strength, Chu Feng's steps were also no longer as heavy as before, and he could even run. So Chu Feng started to run around to gather the picture scroll fragments in the palace, which was like an ice house, as it was filled with chilliness. But as the time he spent staying in the ice house became long, and the chilliness that corroded his power became stronger and stronger, Chu Feng's entire body was covered by frost, and his walking speed became slower and slower, and his skin was currently losing signs of life. Seeing Chu Feng give so much to fight for a chance for her to continue living, Ling's clenched her teeth. She did her best to endure the sharp pain coming from her body, and she no longer made any sounds from pain. It had to be said that Chu Feng's memory was very good, and he was able to place every single picture scroll fragment in the correct position. However, as time passed bit by bit, Chu Feng's body gradually found it hard to hold on, and at the end, he even continuously tripped, and his entire body started to quiver. Chu Feng, don't care about me, leave, or else both of us will die. At that instant, even Ling couldn't bear it anymore, and she had actually urged Chu Feng to leave. Shut up, girl. How can I leave you? Chu Feng forced a slight smile, and he no longer cared about what Ling said. He continued to go around, collecting the picture scroll fragments. However, the current Chu Feng truly had the heart to do, but not the strength. The chilliness had already entered deep into his bones, and his entire body was frozen as hard as iron. He already gradually lost his control over his body, and at the end, Chu Feng powerless laid on the floor. Chu Feng, you. And seeing Chu Feng, who already powerlessly fell onto the ground yet was still doing his best to stand up, Ling seemed to have already forgot the pain of her own body because her heart was trembling and her soul was trembling. No matter what, she never would have thought that Chu Feng would truly not care about his own life to save her. When she faced a person who was unrelated to herself, yet gave so much to save herself, Ling had no way of being not moved. At that instant, she who was usually strong had actually moistened her eyes. Suddenly, she loudly yelled, "You damn guy, leave. I don't need you to save me. Even more so, I don't hope that you give up your life in order to save me. Quickly leave. We were unrelated from the start, and you don't owe me anything, and there is no need to help me like this. Leave, quickly leave, don't care about me." This time, from the bottom of her heart, Ling didn't want Chu Feng to die for her. She hoped that Chu Feng could continue living. After all, the reason why she was trapped in that place was all because of her selfishness. It was all because of herself, and it was unrelated to Chu Feng. However, Chu Feng still ignored her and with determination wanted to stand up. And when he was in the situation where he could no longer stand up, Chu Feng then resolutely chose to crawl. With his frozen stiff hands and feet, bit by bit, he moved his body. At the start, Chu Feng only wanted to do everything he could to save Ling. If he had no way of saving her, then Chu Feng would decide to leave. He didn't want to send his life to the grave because of Ling. But when Ling started to urge him to leave, Chu Feng's heart wavered. His heart had actually shook, and unfathomably, a thought that he had to save Ling emerged. Also, that thought became more and more firm, and up until this point, it was indestructible and immovable. Although Chu Feng's determination to save Ling was immovable, his body no longer followed his heart. Right now, his line of sight became blurry, and his awareness became blurry. In his brain, there was only one thought, and it was to finish gathering the picture scroll to save Ling. But that thought could no longer support his actions, and at the end, Chu Feng's body went limp and he powerlessly laid on the ground, sinking into a coma. After Chu Feng lost consciousness, he had no way of using his profound power to block the chilliness outside his body. The chilliness was like an invisible, fierce, and wild beast. From all directions, it surrounded and attacked him. Very quickly, Chu Feng was solidified into a huge ice block, and he was thoroughly frozen. Chu Feng. Seeing that scene, Ling's face greatly changed, and she started to hysterically yell. At that very instant, her profound power was sealed, and she could not use her spirit power. She didn't know how Chu Feng was, and she even thought that Chu Feng died. As long as she thought that he died, and died because of herself, the tears in her eyes started to flow down like a flood, and it completely soaked her face of absolute beauty. Although his strength wasn't good enough, his perseverance is applaudable. It seems like this boy truly steeled his heart to save you. From the start, he had never planned to escape himself. But just at that time, the gold cloak world spiritist appeared next to Zi Ling soundlessly. He said to Zi Ling, "Do you want to see how much he loved you?" After speaking, without even waiting for Zi Ling to reply, he flung his sleeve a few times downwards at the palace, and the chilliness that covered the bottom part of the palace was absorbed into his sleeve. At that instant, the palace underneath had returned to its original form. Not even a single strand of the chilliness was left behind. However, Chu Feng's appearance was greatly changed. The current Chu Feng was completely unrecognizable. There were surface wounds all over his body, and certain places even ulcerated, revealing eerie white bones. He had frostbite that went deep into the bones throughout his body. Chu Feng. Seeing Chu Feng, who was in that state, Zi Ling's eyes suddenly widened, and her little mouth was slightly opened, showing unspeakable shock from deep within her heart. Have you seen it? This is the pain that his body endured. It is a lot more serious than yours, yet he held on to this point. Say for yourself, what was the thing that supported him? The gold cloak world spiritist smiled and asked. Wu tilde tilde tilde. Zi Ling at that moment already sobbed so much that no sound formed and she couldn't even speak. Little lady, you should treasure a person who loves you like this well. The remains that I left behind here are for people who are fated to get them. However, some people were too greedy, so I didn't give all of it to them. This rank 9 martial skill shall be gifted to you too. I hope that both of you can develop quicker, and I hope that one day, the figures of the two of you can be seen on that land where heroes gather. The gold cloak world spiritist calmly smiled and his body started to dissipate. It became 7-colored brilliance that covered the sky. And after the 7-colored brilliance descended down and landed on Zi Ling's body, the golden-colored spirit formation chains that tied Zi Ling disappeared. And when the 7-colored brilliance landed on Chu Feng's body, his utterly ruined physical body instantly healed. Chu Feng. At that instant, Zi Ling, who had recovered her freedom, leaped and arrived in front of Chu Feng, then propped Chu Feng, who was laying on the ground, up. Tilde tilde. Chu Feng confusedly opened his eyes, and a painful expression still appeared on his face. Zi Ling, you. After seeing Zi Ling in front of his eyes, his pupils suddenly shrunk, and immediately he was shocked. He couldn't help but raise his head to look at his surroundings, and he discovered that everything was so normal, and the bone-piercing chilliness disappeared extremely thoroughly, as if it had never even appeared. I wasn't caught in an illusionary formation just now, right? Chu Feng rubbed his head, and he even suspected that everything he experienced before was only an illusion. No, it wasn't an illusion. Everything was real. Your perseverance moved him, and it is you who saved me. After seeing Chu Feng awake, Zi Ling's alluring body fell and she pounced into Chu Feng's embrace, tightly hugging him. At that instant, Chu Feng was a bit bewildered because the happiness came too suddenly. He got Zi Ling just like that, but no matter what, at least, it was something that Chu Feng hoped to happen. So, he did not restrain himself. He opened his arms and tightly hugged Zi Ling's waist. What are you doing? But who would have thought that just as Chu Feng touched Zi Ling, her body couldn't help but violent tremble, and she subconsciously got rid of Chu Feng. Her palm that made wind-piercing sounds also flew towards Chu Feng's face. But luckily, when that palm was half an inch to Chu Feng's face, it stopped, and only then could Chu Feng escape a disaster. Looking at Chu Feng, a hint of shame emerged onto Zi Ling's body. After that, she stood up, leaped, and rushed towards the upper part of the palace again. She stretched towards the rank 9 martial skill and grabbed Zi Ling, you. Seeing that scene, Chu Feng was so frightened that his heart could jump out. He thought in his heart, this girl truly wants money but not life. After escaping so uneasily, she actually still has her heart on the rank 9 martial skill. She truly doesn't learn. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, but who would have thought that this time, Ling actually successfully grasped the rank 9 martial skill within her hand. Then after that, she floated down, and when Ling landed again, she held Chu Feng's left hand and forcefully put the rank 9 martial skill into Chu Feng's hand, then said, "You keep this." Looking at the martial skill in his hand, Chu Feng hesitated a bit because before, they already came to an agreement that martial skills belong to Ling, and profound medicines belong to him. No matter what, the martial skill should be given to Ling. However, after all, it was a rank 9 martial skill. It was a martial skill that no one cultivated before in the continent of the 9 provinces. Giving a martial skill like that to another person truly ached Chu Feng's heart. Chu Feng, give this rank 9 martial skill to her. As long as you give the martial skill to her, perhaps you can capture her heart in this instant, and perhaps this girl will love you because of this. It is only an insignificant rank 9 martial skill. How can that be compared to the benefits a divine body brings you? Is there even a need to hesitate? But as Chu Feng hesitated, Egge's voice of reminder rang out next to his ear. With Egge's reminder, Chu Feng gnashed his teeth, and when Ling was caught off guard, he threw his hand out with lightning-like speed and patted the rank 9 martial skill in his hand onto Ling's head. Asterisk come asterisk, in the instant the rank 9 martial skill touched Ling's head, it became a strand of light and burrowed into Ling's brain and disappeared. Chu Feng, you. Facing Chu Feng's actions, Ling's face was filled with shock. Her eyes were roundly widened, and her little mouth also slightly opened, because, no matter what, she never would have thought that Chu Feng would actually give the rank 9 martial skill over to her. To know that it wasn't a normal martial skill, but a rank 9 martial skill. I already made a promise and said that martial skills are yours, so this is yours. Chu Feng chuckled and said, showing a face of indifference. Seeing Chu Feng, who was so calm, Ling's heart rapidly changed, and there was an unspeakable feeling. So she said in a low voice, "Chu Feng, thank you. What is there to think about?" That's right, is this martial skill really a rank 9 martial skill? Chu Feng unconcernedly waved his hand, but after that, he still curiously asked closely, It's a rank 9 martial skill, and it is extremely impressive. It seems like the master here is an extremely high-level expert. Ling nodded her head. Yeah, if the consciousness that he left behind was so strong, then wouldn't he himself be even more outstanding? However, the remains here are clearly a bit old. If that gold cloak world spiritist is truly the master here, then hasn't he lived for many years? What realm would the current him be in? Chu Feng said. Although this place hasn't existed as long as 1,000 years, it has definitely existed several hundred years. If he was a martial lord who stepped into the peak level, then it isn't impossible for him to have a life of several hundred years. If he was in the martial king realm, then there is no need to even talk about it. Besides, he's a world spiritist, so his life would always be longer than normal people. Ling explained. After hearing those words, Chu Feng also nodded his head in approval, but he discovered that the things Ling knew didn't seem to be any less than what he knew. Perhaps she even knew more than him. At least in terms of martial cultivation realms, she knew them in more detail than Chu Feng. Asterisk rumble 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 asterisk. But just at that time, the rock stage in the middle of the stage suddenly rumbled, and the 7-colored light that was projected from the upper part of the palace also quickly faded away. At the end, the palace that stored the rank 9 martial skill disappeared, and the ceiling made out of rocks returned. However, the rumbling of the rock stage did not disappear like that. Instead, they became louder and louder, and following the rumbling sounds, the rock stage had actually gradually sank down. After that rock stage went down, Chu Feng and Ling astonishedly discovered that it was a passageway. Although the passageway was very small, it was indeed a passageway. There's something hidden, Chu Feng rejoiced. First, he used his spirit power to explore it for a while. Then after discovering that there were no dangers, he walked down first. Ling also closely followed him, going along the passageway for roughly 1,000 meters. There was a transparent door that appeared in front. The spirit formation door was transparent, and they could see everything on the other side of the door. This is. And after Chu Feng and Ling saw everything on the other side of the spirit formation door, the two of them were both shocked. This was similarly a palace, and the palace was exactly the same as the one Chu Feng and Ling were in before. However, in the middle of the palace, there was a circular rock stage. That rock stage was very big, and its diameter was 100 meters. It seemed like a mini plaza, and as it fluctuating up and down and while floating in the air of the vast palace, it seemed abnormally magical. But that wasn't the important part. The important part was at that instant, on the rock stage, it was emitting a bundle of light that enveloped downwards. Within that light, there were 88 people sitting cross-leggedly on the floor. Those 88 people were the apical experts sent by the eight-sided powers. However, the current them did not have good faces. Palms overlaid, trembling bodies, and they were currently using their heaven power to resist something. Suddenly, an old person in the first level of the heaven realm abruptly quivered violently, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out. After powerlessly laying on the ground, he started to painfully struggle and miserably yell. As he struggled, his body had actually started to twist, and from his body, crackling noises kept on ringing out, as if the bones in his entire body were shattering. At the same time, his physical body also started to change, and at the end, he became a pool of blood. Seeing that scene, Chu Feng and Ling stared at one another with their 4 eyes, and the two of them couldn't help but take in a breath of cool air. To be able to forcefully turn an expert in the first level of the heaven realm into a pool of blood. What kind of terrifying power was it? Damn it, we were set up. There wasn't any treasure in this place, and it was only an illusionary formation. We were tricked. Looking at that scene, a middle-aged man wearing a fiery red-colored long robe furiously roared. He was an expert of the 5th level of the heaven realm, the head of the Fire God Valley. Fire God Valley head. If it wasn't for you who was too impatient and flew over quickly after seeing the treasure, we wouldn't have followed you and also step into this illusionary formation, causing us, at this very moment, to be trapped in this formation and unable to escape. A man with black hair, as well as eyebrows like swords, coldly snorted. And that person also had the cultivation of the 5th level of the heaven realm. He was the head of the Sword God Valley. Rubbish. If all of you didn't also have a selfish heart, why also follow me and intrude into this place? The head of the Fire God Valley yelled. All of you shut up. The power of this formation is so strong, yet none of you concentrate on resisting against it. Do you have the leisure to waste strength on battling with mouths? Do all of you want to die in this place? Suddenly, an old man with graying hair on both sides of his temples angrily yelled. That old man wore a blue world spirit cloak. Although he was also in the 5th level of the heaven realm, his aura was extremely thick, and on his clothes, there was even a badge. It was the badge of the World Spirit Guild. He was the vice head of the World Spirit Guild. As expected of a world spiritist, you actually still know to conserve your power to fight against the pressure of the formation. But sadly, this formation is not something that any of you can resist against. Not to mention you. Even if the old ancestor of the Jiang dynasty comes, he will have trouble stepping out of the formation, and he would be fated to be refined into a pool of blood. When all of you got the map to this place from Black Toad, have you ever thought that this will be your grave? Shameless humans. Do you truly think that Black Toad would sell us out? No matter what, you never would have thought that he intentionally got himself caught, intentionally told everything to you, and intentionally sent yourselves to this place to your death, right? What's the point of telling this to them? This is a group of idiots who believe themselves to be intelligent. How can they possibly understand the feelings between us 5 brothers? Although Black Toad's son is very important to it, we brothers and the millions of monstrous beasts in this 1,000-monster mountain are more important to Black Toad. And just at that time, ear-piercing laughter kept on ringing out nearby, and 4 figures walked into the palace. They were 4 monstrous beasts with well-built physiques and strong auras. All of them wore armor. One had a scorpion head, one had a centipede head, one had a spider head, and one had a venomous snake head. They were precisely the 4 other monster kings of the 1,000-monster mountain. Damn it, 4 old monsters, if you have the guts, let me out and openly fight me. The head of the Xianxia school furiously howled. Despicable, monstrous beasts. You only know how to use deceptive schemes and machinations. If you fight one-on-one against me, which one of you would even be able to defeat me? The head of the hidden white sect also sinisterly roared. However, facing their howls and insults, the 4 monster kings didn't seem to care about them. They only loudly laughed, then quickly after said, "In terms of despicableness, how can we be even compared to you? If you have to blame something, you can only blame yourselves for being too greedy. Whatever, no need to speak any more useless words with them. It's best to quickly kill them off to avoid any other problems." The Scorpion King urged, "No, I want to see the process of them painfully hanging on until their strengths get exhausted, then at the end, being refined into a pool of blood." The Centipede King said, "Big brother, second brother is correct. This formation was personally laid by our master back in that year. With extremely skilled formation methods, the power of the elite armament is thoroughly displayed. Not to mention them, even if our master walked in the formation, it would be difficult to escape. That was what our master personally said." The Spider King said, "Yeah, this group of human scum have done many evils, and immediately killing them is too favorable for them. It is better to watch as they die from torment." The Venomous Snake King smiled and said, "Elite armament. Doesn't that mean that there's an elite armament within the formation?" After hearing those words, Chu Feng was elated in his heart, and he hurriedly spread out his spirit power. It had actually penetrated through the transparent spirit formation door and covered the circular rock that gave off strange light. "Ziling, there is truly a elite armament on top of it. Heavens, it seems like this time we've gotten really lucky." Chu Feng was madly joyful. "Yeah, that elite armament is the source of power for this formation. As long as the elite armament is taken away, the formation will disappear." Ziling's spirit power was even stronger than Chu Feng. Not only did she detect that there was an elite armament on the circular rock stage, she even detected that the elite armament was crucial for the formation. Really? That means as long as that elite armament is removed, doesn't that mean that the people from the 8-sided powers can be saved? After hearing those words, Chu Feng rejoiced. "What? You want to save them?" Ziling's expression slightly changed and puzzledness appeared on her face. "I owe favors to the people from the World Spirit Guild, so I can't let them just die like this. Besides, that's the vice head. If he dies, it will have huge effects on the World Spirit Guild. I cannot just watch as he dies and do nothing." Chu Feng nodded his head. Chu Feng didn't care much about the other people's lives, but to the people from the World Spirit Guild, he had to care about them. After all, the people from the World Spirit Guild had always treated Chu Feng quite well, and they had helped him many times. After the troubles at the Asura Ghost Tower, if he wasn't strongly protected by the World Spirit Guild, perhaps Chu Feng would have been killed by the people from the Jai clan before even leaving the Spirit Province. So Chu Feng really wanted to save the people from the World Spirit Guild. Do you know how dangerous this is? If we want to save them, what we face are the 4 monster kings with strengths in the 5th level of the Heaven Realm. You've experienced the Black Toad King before, so you know how strong it was. But do you know that, within the 5 monster kings, the Black Toad King can only be ranked as 5th? The ranking of the 5 monster kings are arranged by strength. It also means that if you want to save those people, then, at this moment, what we need to face are 4 monsters that are even more terrifying than the Black Toad King. Ziling seriously explained. "Ziling, your foster father is also in there. Are you truly going to watch as he dies without saving him? How can your heart bear that?" Although Chu Feng knew that Ziling's methods were ruthless, He never would have expected that Ling would be so cold-hearted. He's my foster father only because he wants to bind my grandfather to the prestigious villa to work for him. I don't feel half a bit of familial affection towards him. Ling curled her lips, then after that, urged Chu Feng. Chu Feng, there is no need for us to take this risk. Wait until all of them die, and after the Monster Kings leave, we can go out again and get the elite armament without even gods or ghosts knowing. Why is there a need to take this risk? Then can you guarantee when everyone gets refined into a pool of blood, the Monster Kings will leave the priceless elite armament here? Will they not take the elite armament away? If I were them, I would absolutely not leave a treasure like this there. I would only bring it along with myself. Besides, they have the ability to protect this treasure quite well. There is no need for them to leave it here. Chu Feng justified. At that instant, Ling's pupils glittered, and she couldn't help but slowly lower her head and sank into silence. Seeing Ling, who was in that state, Chu Feng's heartstrings jumped, and he even thought that his words were too intense and had harmed Ling. Just as he wanted to speak to console, Ling suddenly raised her head and said to Chu Feng, "Then fine, I'll go out to distract them. Take the chance to take the elite armament, and if you can't get the elite armament, then turn around, run, and leave me. That won't do. My speed is quicker than yours. I can just go out and take the elite armament. If I get it, I get it. But if I can't get it, I can still retreat alive. Who said that your speed is quicker than mine?" Suddenly, Ling's pupils turned purple, and at the same time, layers of purple-colored gas also surged out from her body. The purple-colored gas was extremely strong, and it was simply extremely horrifying. After it appeared, the powerful aura forced Chu Feng a few steps back, and he almost fell onto the ground. You are going to use your body's power. Won't that reveal your identity of a divine body?" Seeing that, Chu Feng's face was filled with worry. Although the current Ling was indeed very strong, and she was even stronger than the experts in the second level of the heaven realm, even so, she was far from being able to defeat the 4 Monster Kings. The most important thing was that Chu Feng worried about Ling revealing her divine body, which would cause the Jiang dynasty to chase after her to kill her. Putting aside that not everyone can recognize that I have a divine body, my power can be concealed. Ling lightly smiled, then the purple-colored gas retracted. After that, her footsteps lightly tapped on the ground, and with a swish, Ling already flew out of the transparent spirit formation with quick speed. That terrifying speed was not much different from Chu Feng's when he used the dragon traveling through 9 heavens. "Father, I'm coming to save you." After Ling rushed into the palace, she loudly yelled towards the sky. Her voice was loud and clear, and it was simply like thunder as it resonated throughout the entire palace. "Ling, don't come over. This formation isn't something that you can resist against. Quickly escape." And after seeing Ling, Qin Lei's face greatly changed, and he hurriedly yelled loudly. From that, it could be seen that he still cared quite a bit about Ling. "Father, don't be afraid. I still have the treasure that my grandfather gave me. It can break all the formations in the world and kill all living things or monstrous beasts. In front of my treasure, this formation isn't even worth mentioning." Ling sweetly smiled, then took out a treasure, which shot radiance in all directions from her cosmos sack. The treasure was grasped within Ling's hand, and one could not see what it was too clearly. However, the dark green-colored radiance that it gave off was extremely dazzling, and it almost enveloped everything within 100 meters. Ling raised it highly, and it seemed incomparably holy. Without even looking back, she flew towards Qin Lei and the other. With her appearance that was filled with confidence, it was as if the object in her hand could truly save Qin Lei and the others. "Crap, quickly go catch that girl." Seeing that scene, the 4 Monster Kings' blood-red eyes were instantly roundly widened, and they moved at the same time, flying towards Ling. Simultaneously, they emanated their powerful auras, and they wanted to envelop Ling and suppress her movements. But it was useless. Although their pressure was strong, They had no way of suppressing the current Zi-Ling. She who used the power of her divine body did indeed have an atmosphere that normal people did not. Normal pressure could not suppress her. HMPH, 4 old monsters, if you dare to approach again, don't blame me for using this treasure to kill all of you. Zi-Ling turned, and she ran towards another side of the palace. Damn girl, I will swallow you alive. The 4 monster kings were completely manipulated by Zi-Ling, but from 4 sides they flanked Zi-Ling. This Zi-Ling girl truly does have some tricks. I should be the next to appear. Seeing Zi-Ling successfully lead the 4 monster kings away, Chu Feng was extremely happy, and with a thought, the azure-colored little dragon appeared under him, and following that, with a flash of light, Chu Feng flew up and rushed straight towards the rock stage. Damn it, there's another. However, just as Chu Feng entered the palace, the 4 monster kings felt Chu Feng's aura, and 2 of them darted towards Chu Feng. 4 old monsters, today I will take care of you. Die. Seeing that, Zi-Ling thought cleverly and quickly after. She threw the treasure in her hand, which was shooting light in all directions, with lightning speed towards the middle of the 4 monster kings. Careful! When Zi-Ling yelled like that, it caused the hearts of the 4 monster kings to tremble, and after that, the 4 of them, simultaneously, threw attacks at the object which shone radiance everywhere. However, before their attacks even arrived on their target, the object could not take the pressure that their attacks gave off, and it was crushed into pieces. It became green-colored glowing objects that filled the air and floated down. This wasn't even any treasure. At that instant, the 4 monster kings came to a realization because within the green-colored glowing object, they could not feel a single trace of threat. How was that even a treasure that could kill all living things? It was simply a garbage item. 4 idiots. The thing that scared all of you was only an ordinary night shining pearl. Seeing the special shocked expressions appear on the faces of the 4 monster kings, Zi-Ling was so amused that she laughed until she was joyful and she was swaying back and forth. Damn girl, I will torture you until you die. After knowing that they were fooled with, 2 of the monster kings flew towards the high stage, while 2 pounced towards Zi-Ling again. Chu Feng, the rest is up to you. Zi-Ling loudly yelled at the direction of the stage, then she leaped with her alluring body, became a row of light and flew away. As she ran, she loudly yelled, come chase me. If you catch me, you get a prize. At the same time, Chu Feng arrived on the high stage, and the current Chu Feng was incomparably excited in his heart, because he discovered that special symbols filled the top of the high stage and the symbols formed a formation. It was extremely beautiful. However, at that very instant, the thing that attracted Chu Feng's gaze the most was not the formation which had bright symbols lingering around them, but the object in the middle of the formation. In that place, there was a big axe stuck in there. The axe was 2 meters long and the material was originally pure black color. However, when light shot past it, one would be able to discover that on the black-colored axe, blood-red color radiance emerged as if the black color was not simple black color, but the accumulation of limitless blood. The shape of the axe was also exceptionally overbearing. On the front side, it was a typical big axe head, and it was incomparably sharp. It could chop through any object. Even if it was a huge elephant, the axe could still easily chop off its head. The side of the axe was like a half-moon-shaped hook. It seemed like a big blade that had the same effects as the axe, but it seemed more like a hook that could dig out a human's internal organs. That big axe was simply a slaughtering weapon, and Chu Feng also attentively discovered that in the middle of the big axe, there were even 3 big words written there. What a nice, you are mine. Chu Feng arrived in front of the axe, extended his hand and grabbed. He tightly grasped onto but just as Chu Feng put strength to raise his hand wanted to pull the out of the formation, his face couldn't help but change, because Chu Feng astonishedly discovered that he was unable to pull the away, and it was as if the axe was one with the rock stage and there was no way of moving it. Ha ha ha, ignorant brat, do you really think you can pull this out? But just at that time, Bursts of mocking laughter rang out behind Chu Feng, and when he turned his head around to look, the venomous Snake King was already currently standing behind Chu Feng and gradually nearing him. At the same time, the pressure it emanated had already sealed the escape behind him. Asterisk swish asterisk at the same time, the Scorpion King rushed over to the other side of the rock stage and sealed off Chu Feng's retreat in front of him. As it walked towards Chu Feng, it said to him, "This has been stuck in the rock stage for several hundreds of years. Even my master and the Monster King that year were unable to pull it out. Do you think that you can pull it out and become its master? Truly foolish, truly laughable, ha ha ha. What? No one has been able to pull this Asura ghost axe in several hundred years." After hearing those words, Chu Feng's heart trembled, and quickly after, bursts of uneasiness surged out. For several hundred years, there was not a single person who could pull it out. Could he pull an elite armament such as that out? Right now, there were no roads of retreat. If he had no way of pulling out that elite armament, not to mention to be unable to save the people from the eight-sided powers, even he himself would die here, and Ziling would also suffer. "Chu Feng, hand your body to me." In the moment of life and death, Egge's sweet voice suddenly rang out from the bottom of Chu Feng's heart, and at that instant, without delay, Chu Feng hurriedly gave the control over his own body to Egge, because he felt that since the Asura ghost axe had the name of Asura, it was very possible for it to have some sort of special relationship with Egge. Asterisk boom asterisk in the instant Chu Feng gave his body over to Egge, a boom exploded from Chu Feng's body and layers of ripples spread, coming from his own body. Waves of violent wind went in all directions, and even the air twisted from that. A large area of black-colored gas lingered around the current Chu Feng, and he emitted bursts of cries. The cries seemed like the howls of ghosts, and they also seemed like the howls of wild beasts. They were extremely horrifying. "This brat, what's happening?" Seeing the current Chu Feng, the two monster kings were also terrified, and their faces lost all color. Their ugly big mouths were opened so widely that they were round, because in such a close distance, they could clearly feel that Chu Feng's body was emanating a special aura at that very instant. That aura was indescribable, and in short, it was extremely powerful, and it could even make one feel afraid. And the most important thing was that the aura being emanated by Chu Feng's body was exactly the same as the feeling the Asura ghost axe gave. The two of them were as if they were one. This feeling, he has finally used that special power. At the same time, Ziling, who was speedily running, also noticed that change, and she couldn't help but cast her gaze towards Chu Feng. In reality, everyone noticed Chu Feng's change. The two monster kings who chased after Ziling also couldn't help but stop their steps, and they cast their gaze towards Chu Feng on the high stage. Even the expressions of Qin Lei and the others who were imprisoned in the formation changed, especially the world spiritists from the World Spirit Guild and the Jai clan. Their faces even turned into incomparable shock, and they hiddenly said, "This aura is from the spirit world, but which spirit world has such powerful aura?" "You, who exactly are you?" the two monster kings said with extremely astonished tones when they saw Chu Feng in front of them. And at that instant, Chu Feng, whose body was already occupied by Egge, coldly smiled and said, "I am the master who this Asura ghost axe will approve of." After speaking, one of Chu Feng's palms suddenly tightly clenched, and after that, powerfully pulled outwards. With a boom, the rock stage hanging in the air had actually instantly shattered and became rolling dust that permeated throughout the palace. And the Asura ghost axe was already grasped within Chu Feng's hand. "Haha, I actually got this elite armament. Egge, I love you to death." After pulling the Asura ghost axe out, Egge returned the control over his body back to Chu Feng, and the current Chu Feng was able to clearly feel the Asura ghost axe in his hand. The big axe was grasped within his hand. It was very, very heavy. If it was thrown, it could even crush a palace and make it cave in. If it was thrown from the air to the ground, it could certainly cause a huge pit to form. But when Chu Feng tightly held it, it felt just right. It felt like only that weight was appropriate for him. The most important part was that within the Asura ghost axe, he was able to feel extremely strong power. As for how strong that power was, it was extremely similar to Egge's power, yet there were differences. The most important part was that, at that very instant, the power of the Asura ghost axe was held within Chu Feng's hand. If Chu Feng could completely grasp that power in the future, he could even fight against Heaven Realm experts. Even if he could not defeat them, he could still handle them. This brat, he actually pulled the Asura ghost axe out. Could it be? At that very moment, the faces of the four monster kings were filled with shock, and their expression changed many times. Within their blood-red eyes, there was unexpectedly some fear. Run! Suddenly, the four of them leaped forward, and they had actually turned around to escape, and they ran. Quickly chase. We cannot let these four monsters escape. And at the same time, underneath Chu Feng, dozens of overwhelmingly strong auras exploded out, and they chased towards the four monster kings. However, very quickly, those people returned without achievements as they ran back. All of them cast their gazes of incomparable admiration towards the Asura ghost axe in Chu Feng's hand. Some of them couldn't even help gulping, and from that, it could be seen how much they longed to get Chu Feng's Asura ghost axe. What are all of you doing? Chu Feng got this Asura ghost axe, so it should belong to him. Seeing that, Ziling hurriedly stood next to Chu Feng and fiercely pointed at the crowd. Lady, the words cannot be spoken like that. This Asura ghost axe was originally a masterless object, and it can't be his because it is in this young man's hand right now, right? Yeah. Look, for this elite armament, my Yuangang school has lost 2 Heaven Realm experts, and the losses are really too big. The head of the Yuangang school also had his face filled with grievance. Your Yuangang school has only lost 2 Heaven Realm experts. My Hidden White Sect has lost 3 Heaven Realm experts. They are seniors in my Hidden White Sect who had done many meritorious deeds and outstanding battle achievements. The head of the Hidden White Sect also added, my Free and Unrestrained Valley is also the same. 3 Heaven Realm seniors died just like that. This is simply a huge blow to my Free and Unrestrained Valley. The head of the Free and Unrestrained Valley also shook his head. Seeing that, Chu Feng looked downwards and he discovered that down there were indeed a dozen or so pools of blood, and other than the 2 powers, the World Spirit Guild and the Jai clan, the remaining powers more or less lost a few Heaven Realm experts, and some were injured as well. To the death of many seniors, I, Chu Feng, feel pity. But let me say some harsher words. Even if they died for the Asura ghost axe, what the hell does it have to do with me? Was it I who caused them to enter the formation? Was it I who caused them to die? If it wasn't to save all of you, why did I risk such huge dangers to come out? If it wasn't for me who risked my life to save all of you, would any of you still be standing here alive? What? As the grand overlords of provinces, right now, you want to repay kindness with hatred and take away my Asura ghost axe? Chu Feng coldly swept his gaze over the crowd, and his words were extremely sharp. As he spoke, the crowd's faces were extremely ugly, and they were all speechless. What Chu Feng has said is reasonable. If he didn't come out, we would have all died today. How would we even have the chance to continue speaking here? Tien. Chu Feng in these dialogues should be more accurately translated as friend Chu Feng, but I left it out because it would sound too awkward/repetitive. Yet everyone still has their minds on Chu Feng's elite armament. I do really suspect that everyone is repaying kindness with hatred. Just at that time, the vice head of the World Spirit Guild, Gao Qijie, also stood out, and he kindly smiled towards Chu Feng, seeming to hiddenly indicate to Chu Feng that his World Spirit Guild would stand behind Chu Feng as support. Vice head Gao, things cannot be said like that. If you're saying that we, by having our minds on this elite armament, is repaying kindness with hatred, then wouldn't you, by protecting Chu Feng, be embezzling the elite armament? After all, everyone knows that Chu Feng is part of your World Spirit Guild. Suddenly, An old man spoke. His face was filled with smiles, yet they seemed strangely sinister. His gaze was always on Chu Feng's Asura ghost axe, and it was not willing to shift even the slightest bit. And that person was the vice chief of the Jai clan, Ji Yan. You, after hearing Ji Yan's words, Vice Head Gao tightly frowned and his face was not pleasant. Because of his identity, it was truly not good to defend Chu Feng in a situation like that. Even if his words were fair, people would feel that he had a selfish heart. Yes, Chu Feng did indeed save us, and all of us admit this. We are also very grateful in our hearts, and we will absolutely express our gratitude. However, this Asura ghost axe is a masterless object. It isn't too reasonable for it to belong to him, just because he pulled it out. Also, everyone here all risked their lives for this elite armament, and there were even people who were sacrificed for it. Besides, with his strength, would be able to keep the elite armament. With the elite armament by his side, it won't bring any good fortune to him, and it will only bring murderous disasters. Ji Yan continued saying, "That's right. Vice Chief Jai is very correct. Chu Feng has saved us, so naturally we need to express our gratitude. My Yuangang school is willing to give 10,000 profound beads to thank this friend for the favor of saving our lives." The head of the Yuangang school hurriedly said, "My Fire God School is also willing to give 10,000 profound beads. My Hidden White Sect is willing as well. The free and unrestrained valley is the same as everyone. My Sword God Valley will also use 10,000 profound beads to express our gratitude towards Chu Feng for the favor of saving our lives." At the same time, the overlords of the other powers also all expressed their attitude, but in reality, they were pushing Chu Feng towards a pit of fire. "Chu Feng, my Jai clan is willing to give 20,000 profound beads to express our gratitude for the favor of saving all of our lives. However, you cannot take this Asura ghost axe away. It belongs to everyone here." Ji Yan smiled and said, "HMPH, from what all of you mean, you want to take the several tens of thousands of profound beads to buy my elite armament." Vice Chief, if someone offered several tens of thousands of profound beads to buy your Jai clan's armor of thorns, would you sell it? Chu Feng coldly snorted, and he was extremely displeased. He never would have thought that those people would be so shameless. He saved them out of kindness, yet they were still thinking about his own Asura ghost axe. "My friend, the words cannot be spoken like that. This Asura ghost axe was originally a masterless object, so when did it become yours?" Ji Yan, the vice chief, smiled more and more sinisterly, and he was simply a typical old fox. "Yeah, my friend, you can't say that because you hold it right now in your hand, therefore it's yours, right? I also feel that it's reasonable. This Asura ghost axe was originally a masterless object, and it can be said that it belongs to everyone here. Friend, you cannot monopolize it." Seeing that, the crowd echoed one after the other. However, just at that time, the Asura ghost axe in Chu Feng's hand flashed, and it started to quickly shrink in Chu Feng's hand. The 2-meter-long huge axe had actually become rows of brilliance and disappeared within the hand that Chu Feng tightly clenched into a fist. "What's this? Where did the elite armament go?" Seeing that scene, the faces of the masters of the Yuangang School and the Fire God School changed greatly, and they incomparably panicked. Their eyes were roundly widened and they started look everywhere, wanting to find where the axe went. Because the elite armament attracted them too greatly. Every single person wanted to get it. After all, the powers that had an elite armament would be one level higher than the other powers in terms of position. For example, the Sword God Valley. It was originally a small power, and only because it got the God Wood Sword did it have its current position. Its position was even rapidly rising. Wait, everyone, don't panic. Just at that time, the vice chief seemed abnormally calm. He tightly stared at Chu Feng's clenched hand and said, "Chu Feng, can you open your palm and let us take a look?" After hearing those words, everyone condensed their gazes onto Chu Feng's hand, and in that situation it was not good to conceal it, so he could only gradually open his palm. Heavens, this! And after Chu Feng completely opened his palm, and when people clearly saw Chu Feng's palm, other than the vice chief of the Jai clan and the vice head of the World Spirit Guild, the expressions of almost everyone on scene changed greatly, and their faces were filled with shock, because at that very instant in Chu Feng's palm, there was a picture. That picture was none other than the Asura ghost axe that just disappeared. The Asura ghost axe was imprinted on Chu Feng's palm. Although it was only a picture, it was vivid and lifelike. When one looked, it seemed extremely three-dimensional, and it was simply as if someone took a shrunk Asura ghost axe and hung it on Chu Feng's palm. It recognized its master. It's an elite armament that can recognize its master. At that instant, people ceaselessly yelled in shock. On their faces, there was admiration and there was also envy. Even the gaze of the vice chief of the Jai clan, Ji Yan, became complicated and no one knew what he was planning. Eggy, what is happening? Why did the elite armament enter my palm? In reality, even though Chu Feng felt the elite armament enter his palm, he did not understand what was happening. Idiot! This means you've gotten the approval of the elite armament, and you've been recognized as its master. It can be one with you, and other than you, no one else can use it. Eggy explained. Something like this can actually happen. This means that Ji Qingming's armor of thorns and Mu Rongyu's divine wood sword haven't approved of them. Chu Feng asked. Of course not. Do you think that all elite armaments can do a recognition? The elite armaments that can are kings of elite armaments, and they are the best within elite armaments. No matter if it's in terms of power or quality, they are incomparable by other elite armaments. Which also means that in front of your Asura ghost axe, no matter if it's Ji Qingming's armor of thorns or Mu Rongyu's divine wood sword, they are no longer good things. They cannot even be discussed with your Asura ghost axe, and only elite armaments that can recognize their masters are real elite armaments. Those which cannot are broken defectives. Eggy explained, so it's like that. Doesn't that mean that only the Asura ghost axe in my hand is the real elite armament? After hearing those words, Chu Feng was elated. Of course, try to control it. It will move as you wish. Eggy said while giggling. When Chu Feng got such an elite armament, she also felt happy for him. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, and Chu Feng didn't hesitate. He grasped with one hand, and with light that shot in all directions from his hand, the Asura ghost axe transformed back to its previous huge state, and it was grasped within Chu Feng's hand once again. Quickly after, with another thought from Chu Feng, the Asura ghost axe flashed and disappeared, returning to Chu Feng's palm. And after personally seeing Chu Feng control the Asura ghost axe in such a natural way, the expressions of everyone on scene changed, and there were some unspeakable emotions. Just at that time, Ziling walked 2 steps forward, and after that said to the crowd, I believe with everyone's experience, all of you certainly know about elite armaments recognizing its master. Normal people have no way of using an elite armament like this, and even if they had it within their hand, it would only be like scrap iron and not a single trace of power can be used. Only the person it approves can display its power, and right now, the elite armament has already approved Chu Feng to be its master, which means that it is not a masterless object. It is Chu Feng's, and the elite armament itself chose Chu Feng. Everyone, is there anything more you want to say? At this instant, people were speechless because they already had no way of refuting. After all, it was the same as what Ziling said. Right now, the elite armament was no longer a masterless object. I never would have thought that things like an elite armament approving its master still exist. The vice head of the World Spirit Guild, Gao Qijie, sighed with a face filled with admiration. Although his face was also filled with admiration, there was no complexion of greed. The master of the remains is very powerful, so other than this elite armament, perhaps there are other treasures. Ziling interrupted. That's right. Lady Chu Feng, you two didn't seem to enter from the front just now, right? Vice head Gao curiously asked. That's right. Other than this place, there's another hidden passageway. There are many mechanisms within the hidden passageway, and Chu Feng and I only charged through them to pass. But sadly, there were still not the slightest bit of gains, and at the end, we walked to this place. Ziling shook her head. Really? Where's the hidden passageway? After hearing those words, the faces of Ji Yan and the other Jai clan members changed, and they started thinking. They were all world spiritists, especially Ji Yan. His spirit formation techniques were extremely strong, and even if Ziling and Chu Feng got nothing from it, it did not represent they would get nothing as well after they entered. Quickly after, Ziling told Ji Yan about the hidden passageway and all the experts from the World Spirit Guild, and the Jai clan entered to search for a while. After the elite armament recognized him as the master, there were no more people who made things difficult for Chu Feng, and he was in quite a leisure position. He wandered around in this place, but he had a goal. What he wanted to find was naturally the first thing he came to this place for: the treasure that could train his spirit power. Because Chu Feng had asked Vice Head Gao whether any special treasures were found on the road, and his answer was very clear. On the road here, they did not discover anything. That was also why they were so excited when they arrived in the last palace and discovered the large amounts of treasures under the rock stage. But then they were imprisoned in the palace. After knowing everything, Chu Feng still felt that the treasure he wanted was still in the underground palace. So, he started to seriously search. But the more he searched, the more uneasy he got. After almost detailedly searching the huge underground palace for several times, Chu Feng still had no gains, and it was just as Vice Head Gao said. Other than the elite armament here, there was nothing else. Damn it, why isn't there the treasure that has the special effect for spirit power? At that instant, Chu Feng was tightly frowning, and he was panicking a bit in his heart. If he could not find that treasure, his spirit power would be unable to quickly develop. What would he take to save Suro and Sume? Don't worry, perhaps you've already found the treasure that the monstrous beast talked about. Eggy suddenly spoke. Eggy, why so? Chu Feng felt puzzled. Carefully feel the Asura ghost axe in your palm. Use your spirit power to feel. Can you discover that deep in the core of the axe, there is a layer of formless energy locked away from you? Eggy said. Without being slow, Chu Feng hurriedly followed Eggy's instructions. At the end, he discovered that it was truly the same as what Eggy said. Eggy, what is going on? Can it be that this Asura ghost axe is the treasure that can train spirit power? Chu Feng rejoiced, and it was as if he finally saw a tiny bit of light in the endless darkness. Indeed, real elite armaments will contain some other uses, and those special uses are usually unrelated with battle. If I'm not mistaken, your elite armament can train spirit power. However, that special power needs to be pulled out by a special formation in order for it to be released. This is perhaps why the rock stage was filled with formation marks. When you rushed onto the rock stage, you were pressed with time and you didn't notice these details, and you only focused on pulling the Asura ghost axe out. But I noticed it. So, from the start, I carefully recorded the formation's formation symbols, and after you leave this place, I can help you relay the formation and use it to pull out the hidden effects of the Asura ghost axe. If this Asura ghost axe is truly a treasure that can train your spirit power, then that would certainly come into effect. But if it isn't, then I can only say that you've been played with, that there were no treasures that could train one's spirit power in this place, and perhaps the monstrous beast only wanted to send you here to your death. Eggy explained. It can only be like so. Chu Feng nodded his head. He felt that what Eggy said was very reasonable, and currently he could only follow Eggy's words and try it out. God damn, nothing. There is nothing here. Damn it, who spread the rumors that stated there are treasures here? Who spread the rumors that stated this place is where the remains of the martial cultivation expert are? They were simply damn rumors. They were nonsense. They were deceiving us. Just at that time, continuous angry yells rang out next to Chu Feng's ears, and some people even powerfully struck the indestructible underground palace. The heads of the peak powers were doing the same as what Chu Feng was doing. They were detailedly searching the underground palace, but it was useless as they did not get anything. That caused them to be extremely displeased. After all, in this journey, they had lost many Heaven Realm experts. Powerful people such as them couldn't be developed whenever they wanted to, so they had lost quite a bit on this journey. Chu Feng, this time, it was all thanks to you and Ling. After returning to the prestigious villa, I, Qinlei, must express my gratitude for the favor of saving my life. Compared to others, Qinlei seemed quite calm, and it seemed that he was truly thankful for Chu Feng and Ling. After that, Qinlei invited all of the heads to return to the prestigious villa as an honored guest to witness the results of the marriage gathering. At first, the heads did not want to go, but after a while of thinking, they nodded their heads. So the grand group of people left the Thousand Monster Mountain and returned to the prestigious villa. However, because of the fury in their hearts, it caused them to carry out great destruction in the Thousand Monster Mountain before they left. They slaughtered no small number of monstrous beasts, and without the Monster Kings as their foundation, this time, the vitality of the Thousand Monster Mountain was truly injured greatly. Within the prestigious villa's palace that Chu Feng lived in, he laid layers of spirit formations from the inside. And in the center of the palace, there was even a spirit formation surrounded by floating light. In the heart of the formation, Chu Feng's Asura ghost axe was inserted in it. Chu Feng sat cross-leggedly and he sat in front of the Asura ghost axe. Occasionally, his eyebrows slightly raised, and occasionally they lightly relaxed. On his tranquil face, barely detectable feelings were endlessly changing. Haha, success. Eggy, you succeeded. You've successfully pulled out the special effects from this Asura ghost axe. Finally, Chu Feng opened his eyes and he directly jumped up from the ground from happiness, and he was so excited that he could almost dance, because it was the same as what Eggy said. The Asura ghost axe was truly a treasure that could hone spirit power, and as long as one bonded with the formation, then channel their spirit power into the Asura ghost axe, then connect to the mysterious object in the axe, there would be the effect of raising spirit power. This formation is only the experimental version. After the marriage gathering ends, find a spacious and hidden area to cultivate. I can then lay the complete formation, and only at that time can I truly display the Asura ghost axe's effects of honing spirit power. Eggy said, Eggy, many thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, perhaps I wouldn't even have discovered the obscurity in this Asura ghost axe, and I wouldn't have known that this is the treasure which could train one's spirit power. Chu Feng felt true gratitude that came from his heart towards Eggy. Chi, of course, who can even be compared to my intelligence and wit. But you're not stupid either. Even if I didn't remind you, I believe that after carefully studying it, you would certainly look back at this small detail. Eggy's little face raised, and her smile was called sweet. Obviously, she also really liked Chu Feng's praise. As long as I become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist, I can save the monkey monstrous beast in the Asura Ghost Tower, and at that time, Su Ro and Su Mei can be saved as well. Also, as long as I become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist, I can open the World Spirit Gate and freedom can be restored to you. Chu Feng's face was filled with yearning, because he felt that the effects of the Asura Ghost Axe was truly very good. Perhaps before a year, his spirit power could be so strong to the point where he could link with the power of blue-colored spirit formations, and at that time, he would also become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist. Your thoughts are too simple, and it isn't that easy to become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist. If your body isn't strong enough, your spiritual world isn't strong enough. Usually speaking, when a cultivator's cultivation hasn't reached the heaven realm yet, their spiritual world will have no way of enduring the stress of blue-colored spirit formation power, let alone using the blue-colored spirit formation power. Eggy struck blows on his spirit. What? Heaven realm? Can it be that my body, my spiritual world, also have no way of enduring the blue-colored spirit formation power, and I must reach the heaven realm first? Chu Feng, who had extreme confidence in his own physical body, never would have thought that he himself was also unable to break through that restriction. However, Ziling hadn't stepped into the heaven realm as well, yet she was already a blue cloak world spiritist. Was it possible that his body was truly inferior to a divine body? Your body is very strong, and in certain places, it is even stronger than Ziling's body. But it is not so strong that you can fight against heaven realm cultivators. On the journey of martial cultivation, or on the road of spirit formations, there is always a corresponding restriction and a certain limit. Some people can indeed break through that limit and escape the bindings, but there's still a range for that. According to my calculations, if you want to gain the power of blue-colored spirit formations and become a blue cloak world spiritist, you must raise your current cultivation of the 3rd level of the profound realm to the 7th level of the profound realm. When you have the cultivation of the 7th level of the profound realm, you should be able to link to the power of blue-colored spirit formation. Eggy explained, so it must be the 7th level of the profound realm. Then what if I raise it to the 5th level of the profound realm, then use the power of the 2 types of lightning and raise my cultivation to the 7th level of the profound realm? Chu Feng asked. Of course that won't work. The divine lightning can indeed strengthen your cultivation, but even if it is in your blood, it is, after all, still external power. Your spiritual world's endurance power is only related to the cultivation of your body itself. It must be your own cultivation that is raised to the 7th level of the profound realm in order for it to work. Eggy explained, the distance to the 7th level of the profound realm is still 4 levels. The resources required for every level is extremely huge, and the further I go, the more it will multiply. Within the time of less than 2 years, can I succeed? Chu Feng tightly frowned, and his gaze started to glitter. He felt huge pressure because if he did not succeed, the ones being sent to the grave were Su Ro and Su Mei, 2 females whom he loved. You will succeed. You need to believe in yourself because even I believe you in such a way. Eggy consoled. Thank you. Eggy, with you accompanying by my side, I believe that I can do it. Only after hearing Eggy's words did Chu Feng put away his worried complexion, and a hint of smile rose from the corners of his mouth. On the road, if it wasn't for Eggy, no one could say for sure how many times Chu Feng would have died. No matter how much more powerful he was, after all, he was still a young person. His experience was limited, and his character wasn't mature enough. But Eggy filled in his weaknesses and taught him how to grow. Asterisk dong dong dong. Dong 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 asterisk Chu Feng, I know that you're here. Quickly open the door, quickly. But just at that time, the big doors of the palace was knocked while an urgent voice rang out. Seeing that, Chu Feng hurriedly put away the Asura ghost axe, dissipated the spirit formations, and quickly after, arrived in front of the palace and opened the door. Asterisk swish asterisk, and just as Chu Feng opened the door, a body rushed in. It was Gu Bo. At that instant, Gu Bo's expression was panicked and sweat permeated his head. After stepping into the palace, he quickly closed the palace door and laid a soundproofing spirit formation as he did that. Only then did he grab onto Chu Feng's shoulders and say, Chu Feng, this isn't good. You need to quickly leave. If you don't, it's very likely that you will lose your life. Gu Bo, what's the matter? What happened? Chu Feng calmly asked. Long story short, I already know about you getting the elite armament. Vice Head Gao told me. Right now, he got me to tell you to leave this place right now because from the delusions of Ji Yan, the Yuangang School, Fire God School, Hidden White Sect, Free and Unrestrained Valley, Sword God Valley, and the prestigious Villa want to join hands with the Jai clan to forcefully take your Asura ghost axe away. Something like that actually happened, despite me being a part of the World Spirit Guild. Do they dare to ignore the existence of the World Spirit Guild? Chu Feng's brows slightly furrowed. The reason why he dared to relievedly return to this place was because he knew that the World Spirit Guild would protect him. But right now, the situation clearly changed. That was then and now is now. Ji Yan made up lies and said that your Asura Ghost Axe is not only a simple elite armament, and that it contains endless mysterious techniques and martial skills within it and stores inexhaustible treasures. He said that if one were to be able to grasp those mysterious techniques and martial skills, it would cause the strength of the eight-sided powers to increase significantly and possibly even break through the bindings of the heaven realm to step into the realm of martial lords and become the martial lords of a generation. When he said it like that, the other powers were all moved. Right now, they are like wolves and tigers, and they swore to get your Asura Ghost Axe and to open it to obtain the treasures within. In this situation, my World Spirit Guild can no longer protect you, or else they will join hands and attack my World Spirit Guild. Gu Bo said, "Rubbish, there are no treasures inside my Asura Ghost Axe." Chu Feng gnashed his teeth from anger. "I know Vice Head Gao knows, and even Ji Yan knows. We all know that within elite armaments, it is impossible for there to be treasures hidden. But the people from the several other powers don't know. They have already been bewitched by Ji Yan, and they deeply trust his words without doubt. Ji Yan is too ruthless. He wants to use the 6 big powers to finish you off. And if my World Spirit Guild dares to interfere, he will use the 6 big powers to annihilate my World Spirit Guild." The Jai clan, like my World Spirit Guild, also has a close relationship with the Jiang dynasty. If the Jai clan joins up with the 6 big powers to attack my World Spirit Guild, the Jiang dynasty will absolutely not care about it. Gu Bo had quite an emotional tone, and his expression was hectic. It could be seen that he was also furious and simultaneously frightened. And at that instant, Chu Feng's eyebrows slightly furrowed, and after that, a touch of cold glare flashed into his eyes, and he coldly said, "What a damn sinister Ji Yan. One day I will make him pay the price." Asterisk boom asterisk, and just at that time, the closed palace door suddenly opened, and a violent burst of air current swept in and easily shattered the spirit formation Gu Bo laid. "Careful." Seeing that, Chu Feng quickly grabbed onto Gu Bo's shoulder, then leaped back, and only then did he dodge the current of air. Otherwise, even though Chu Feng would be fine with his cultivation, with Gu Bo's cultivation on the other hand, he would certainly be heavily injured by the violent current of air. Asterisk whoosh 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 asterisk. Quickly after that, 7 figures rushed in and stood in the middle of the palace. Those 7 people were none other than the vice chief of the Jai clan, the head of the Xianxia School, the head of the Fire God School, the head of the Hidden White Sect, the head of the Free and Unrestrained Valley, the head of the Sword God Valley, and the head of the prestigious villa. After they entered, the palace door also quickly closed, closing off all Chu Feng's escape. A little mouse already ran over here so quickly for informing. Ji Yan's eyes narrowed and he coldly looked at Gu Bo. "God damn, the World Spirit Guild's Gao Qijia really is useless. We knew that he would disclose information, so we shouldn't have discussed this thing with him." The head of the Xianxia School gnashed his teeth in anger. "Ah, what are you so stirred up for? Isn't the person still here?" The head of the Fire God School looked at Chu Feng's right hand and evilly smiled. "What are you doing?" Chu Feng put Gu Bo behind him and loudly asked with a torch-like gaze. "My friend Chu Feng, no need to be afraid. No matter what this boy told you, in reality, we don't have any malicious intentions. It's just that I suspect that your Asura Ghost Axe is where the remains of the 1,000 Monster Mountain is truly located at, and that the unfathomably deep martial cultivation expert stored all of the treasures he left behind inside the Asura Ghost Axe. So, we want to borrow your Asura Ghost Axe for a use." Ji Yan smiled and said, "Nonsense. How is it possible for there to be treasures inside a elite armament? Right now, the elite armament has already recognized me as the master, and I understand everything about it like the back of my palm. This is an ordinary elite armament and there are no treasures inside." Chu Feng coldly snorted. "My friend Chu Feng, your words cannot count. Although this Asura Ghost Axe recognized you as its master, it does not mean that it is yours. After all, it is the result of what all of us stake together. Can you say that it recognized you as its master, therefore it belongs to you? Yet we get nothing, and busied for nothing, and sacrificed several heaven realm experts for nothing. Ji Yan coldly interrogated. Asterisk boom asterisk, but just at that time, the doors that were tightly shut suddenly opened again. Quickly afterwards, several bodies flew in. It was the vice head of the World Spirit Guild, Gao Qijie, and also all the experts of the World Spirit Guild who were inside the prestigious villa. Even Xu Zhangyu arrived. What are you doing? You want to commit crimes against a person of my World Spirit Guild in broad daylight. Gao Qijie was also not a lamp that saved on oil, and after entering, he fiercely yelled. As for the others from the World Spirit Guild behind him, such as Xu Zhangyu, similarly, their gazes were unkind, and they all had hostile tones and attitudes of attacking. Vice Head Gao, could it be that you want to pocket the treasure by protecting Chu Feng like this? That's right. Even Vice Chief Jai knows that there are treasures within the Asura Ghost Axe. How is it possible that you, who is also a Blue Cloak World Spiritist, don't know? HMPH, respecting you as a senior expert was in vain. I never would have thought that you would be so despicable and shameless. However, before Ji Yan even said anything, several characters at the school head level started to coldly snort. Looking at their appearances, they did seem to be deceived by Ji Yan, and they were also determined to get Chu Feng's Asura Ghost Axe. For the treasures within the Asura Ghost Axe, they didn't care about making an enemy of such a huge power like the World Spirit Guild. Nonsense! How can there be treasures within elite armaments? Do you even have common sense? Gao Qijie's face turned blue from anger and he loudly cursed. And seeing that the several peak experts in front of him endlessly argue, Chu Feng's eyes slightly narrowed, and he did some calculations in his heart. Then after that, he suddenly spoke. It seems like everyone must take away my Asura Ghost Axe. I, Chu Feng, am not a person who isn't reasonable, and I also don't want to make things difficult for you. You say that there are treasures within this Asura Ghost Axe and you want to take it away and think of a method to get the treasures. Fine, I, Chu Feng, will satisfy your desires. However, you need to agree on a condition. What condition? Hearing those words, the expressions of everyone there changed and they couldn't help but stop their disputes, look at Chu Feng and closely ask. Although they were already strongly determined to take away Chu Feng's Asura Ghost Axe, after all, Chu Feng did save them. So, regardless of emotion or reason, they couldn't excessively force others. Besides, when he had the World Spirit Guild as a shield, they had to know their limits even more. Actually, many people on scene didn't want to make this matter too big, despite the fact that the treasures did greatly attract them. If they were traded for a huge battle, even they would ache. If there was a way to truly peacefully resolve the matter, that method would be something that everyone hoped for. Give me 1,000,000 profound beads, and I'll give this Asura Ghost Axe to you. No matter how you study it, it would no longer be related to me in any way. Chu Feng said, What? 1,000,000 profound beads? You are simply a lion opening your mouth widely. Hearing Chu Feng's words, many people's faces instantly greened. Everyone, didn't you say that within my Asura Ghost Axe, there are treasures that a martial cultivation expert left behind? Those treasures are absolutely not only worth 1,000,000 profound beads, right? As long as you hand 1,000,000 profound beads to me, this Asura Ghost Axe will belong to all of you. No matter what treasures you find within it, I don't want half a bit of them. Chu Feng said. At that instant, people started to hesitate. Indeed, if it was like how Ji Yan said it was, and that there were powerful martial skills and endless treasures inside the Asura Ghost Axe, 1,000,000 profound beads was truly not much. Fine, I agree. Suddenly, Ji Yan spoke and agreed. However, quickly after, he coldly added, But in order to gain to the treasures in the Asura Ghost Axe, I need to cut the link from it to you. So I need that right arm of yours. You dare? After hearing Ji Yan's requirement, without waiting for Chu Feng to speak, Gao Qijie, Xu Zhangyu, Gu Bo, and the others from the World Spirit Guild were already furious. Cutting off a genius arm was simply cutting off his future. However, Chu Feng laughed at Ji Yan's requirement then, after. His gaze became abnormally sharp, and as he stared at Ji Yan, he said, "Put 1,000,000 profound beads in front of me, then this right arm will be yours." Haha, nice, straightforward. Everyone, it is but 1,000,000 profound beads. From our 8 powers, each one of our powers can take out 125,000 profound beads. No objections, right? Ji Yan said, "No objections." The other school heads also responded. Only the people from the World Spirit Guild said nothing, and they were strangely staring at Chu Feng, not knowing what he was thinking. "No, just your 7 powers." But Chu Feng suddenly spoke. "What do you mean?" The head of the Yuangang School furiously asked. "As a part of the World Spirit Guild, how can I, Chu Feng, ask for something from my own power? Besides, the World Spirit Guild will not want my right arm, and similarly, I believe that they will also not want the treasures in my Asura Ghost Axe. So, this trade is in the name of myself, Chu Feng, and your 7 powers." Chu Feng calmly smiled and said, "You?" After hearing those words, the faces of all of the people there changed. Although on the surface, Chu Feng's words did make perfect sense, in reality, he was intentionally wanting them to give out more. "Everyone, it is only giving a few more profound beads. Are we unable to afford it? Then, each of us will put out 150,000 profound beads. As for the 50,000 extra, take it as some extra compensation. After all, you're a martial cultivation genius, and if you lose one hand, it would be hard to avoid some future effects in martial cultivation." Ji Yan darkly and coldly smiled, and there was a bit of mock. "That is correct. It is but taking out a few more profound beads. Is it possible that we can't afford it? Chu Feng, 1,050,000 profound beads should be enough for you to live your remaining life relaxedly and unrestrainedly, right?" Ha ha ha. At the same time, the several other heads laughed loudly, and within their tone, there was some smugness and also some ridicule. They were hiddenly ridiculing Chu Feng, that he wanted money but not life. And facing their ridicules, Chu Feng only lightly smiled, slightly clenched his right hand, and the Asura Ghost Axe appeared in his hand. He looked at the crowd and said, "There is no need for you to worry about whether 1,050,000 profound beads will be enough for me to finish living my remaining life or not. So, take out 1,050,000 profound beads, then this Asura Ghost Axe will be yours." This. Ji Yan and the others were caught in a predicament by Chu Feng, who would be so free as to carry hundreds of thousands of profound beads on their body for no reason. Even if the people from all the powers gathered all their belongings together, they could, at most, only gather 100 or 200,000 profound beads. Villa Head Kin, look. So, in that situation, people cast their gazes of pleading towards the head of the prestigious villa, Chin Lei. "Ho, everyone, there are also limited number of profound beads in my prestigious villa, and there is really not enough to cover everyone." Seeing that, Chin Lei quickly, apologetically smiled. Although he could collect 1,000,000 profound beads if he put together everything in his prestigious villa, and was willing to sell anything, he wouldn't be so stupid as to lend it over to those people. After all, 1,000,000 profound beads wasn't a small number, and it would undoubtedly cause the foundation of the prestigious villa to be heavily damaged. "What can't take it out? So the school head lords aren't as wealthy as I imagined, huh?" Seeing the several people in front of him being in such a difficult situation, Chu Feng smiled mockingly. "Nonsense! Who would carry so many profound beads on their body for no reason?" The head of the Yuangang School fiercely glared at Chu Feng. "HMPH. Then that's your problem. I give you 10 days. You must put 1,000,000 profound beads in front of me, or else don't blame me when I back out." Chu Feng coldly snorted, and his attitude was exceptionally domineering and obnoxious. "What? 10 days? Isn't that a bit too short? That's your problem, none of my business. You." After hearing Chu Feng's words, the several school head-level characters were not lightly angered. On the other hand, Ji Yan was very calm from start to finish. He lightly smiled and said, "Chu Feng, then in 10 days we'll see you here. Remember, don't play any tricks or else no one will be able to protect you." After saying those words, Ji Yan shot a glance to the crowd, and they prepared to leave just like that. Villa head Chin lay. "So this is the gratitude you give to me for saving your life. I, Chu Feng, have truly gained experience today." However, just as they prepared to turn around, Chu Feng suddenly spoke and killing intent was filled within his lightly squinted gaze. And after hearing those words, Chin Lei's face changed. There was a bit of shame, but there was also a bit of fury. After hesitating for a while, he still didn't say anything and he quickly left. "Chu Feng, have you gone mad? Are you truly going to give this Asura ghost axe to them?" After the 7 big powers left, Gu Bo asked with a face filled with confusion. "An Asura ghost axe isn't much. After all, it is only a elite armament, and as long as one is fated, it is not impossible to get a thing like this in the future. On the other hand, brother Chu Feng, you are actually willing to trade your arm for the 1,000,000 profound beads. This is really too hasty." Xu Zhongyu shook his head. "The Jai clan have always been displeased with you, especially after discovering that you were a rare genius. They even wanted to get rid of you. Even without today's matter, they would still think of ways to take care of you. It's just that. Chu Feng, you're a member of my World Spirit Guild, yet we can only watch as an arm is chopped off." Truly, Vicehead Gao's face was filled with shame. "Vicehead, please don't speak like that. I, Chu Feng, will always engrave the kindness that the World Spirit Guild showed in my heart. Today's scene was created by me from the start, and I truly don't want to drag the entire guild down because of my own personal grudges and cause innocent people to die because of me." Chu Feng said. "Ah." Vicehead Gao first helplessly sighed, then after, sincerely asked, "Chu Feng, I wonder if there is anything that I can help you with." Seeing that, Chu Feng first looked around, and only after seeing that there were no abnormalities did he go close to Vicehead Gao's ear and said, "I need a single forbidden medicine that can raise my cultivation. The higher the quality, the better, and there is no need to care about the negative effects. I also need at least 10 attacking talismans that can break open blue-colored spirit formations. Vicehead, I wonder if you can help me get my hands on those." "Chu Feng, you are." After hearing those words, Vicehead Gao's face instantly changed, and his aged eyes were roundly widened, as if he thought of something. And when he looked back at Chu Feng and saw that there was a smile on his face, it seemed that his heart was already firm, and he only awaited Vicehead Gao's reply. "Ah, perhaps this is the method within no methods. Only that after this I am afraid that your days will truly be difficult to pass." Vicehead Gao's face was filled with helplessness. Then after that he added, "But don't worry, within 10 days, I will certainly give you a satisfactory answer." After that, Vicehead Gao and the others from the World Spirit Guild chatted for quite a long time with Chu Feng, and they even ate a rich banquet with him, and they only left when it was dark. However, for Chu Feng's safety, Xu Zhongyu and Gu Bo stayed behind to accompany Chu Feng, just in case someone wanted to hiddenly attack Chu Feng within the 10 days. Of course, Ji Yan and the others didn't trust Chu Feng, so they had people who were hiddenly strictly observing Chu Feng. If he made any signs of escaping, they would directly attack Chu Feng and even finish off his life. After setting the conditions with Chu Feng, Ji Yan and the others started to send the news over to their own powers with special methods. With the fastest speeds, they sent people over to obtain profound beads back to the prestigious villa. Just in case, they even used some backup plans to guarantee that they could collect 1,050,000 profound beads to Chu Feng within 10 days. And as Ji Yan and the others were so utterly busy, Chu Feng was in quite a leisure position. If he wasn't drinking wine and talking about joyful things with Xu Zhongyu, Gu Bo, and the others in the same generation from the World Spirit Guild, he would be playing chess and chatting. There were even some female disciples from the prestigious villa who did know what the situation was. drinking wine merrily along with them and playing so unrestrainedly. They were truly comfortable and at ease. That caused the people who were hiddenly watching Chu Feng and were in rough conditions such as eating in the wind and sleeping outside, to curse Chu Feng non-stop. However, they could only curse a bit in their hearts. After a few days like that passed, the most important moment of the marriage gathering finally arrived. All the people who participated in the marriage gathering from the beginning gathered once again on the summit of the mountain peak. Also, even characters such as the school heads, who were always hidden in the darkness, showed themselves grandly at that instant, and it caused people to sigh in admiration and to cheer. The people who did not know the truth even truly thought that the prestigious villa had face, and invited all the characters from the many overlord-level powers here to support the scene. And according to the rules set for the marriage gathering before, the beauties who joined the marriage gathering started to state the person whom they loved in front of the crowd. As long as that person agreed, the marriage would be a success. It had to be said that Chu Feng truly had quite good affinity for females, and he had actually became, other than Ji Qingming and Xu Zhongyu, the most popular person there. Within the 100 females, there were 7 females who expressed their love towards Chu Feng and said that they were willing to marry Chu Feng and hoped that he could take them away. In a situation like that, it caused Chu Feng to feel astonished, and it caused the bystanders to feel admiration. It also caused Tang Yishayu, Bai Yunfei, Song Qingfeng, Liu Xiaoyao, and the others with extraordinary lives to grind their teeth in anger, because no matter what, they never would have thought that in the section of comparing charm, they would lose to Chu Feng, the brat whom they looked down upon. However, the thing that people never would have thought of the most was to the 7 beautiful females' expression of love. Chu Feng had actually rejected all of them and did not agree to be together with any one of them. That result caused many people unseen to yell in shock, and it caused quite an uproar. But compared to Chu Feng, there was a person who was even more ridiculous, and it was the little beauty who received the most attention in this marriage gathering, Ziling. Ziling, who was viewed as a saint by countless number of people. Ziling, who countless of people looked forward to, had purely not appeared, and with the reason of cultivating in seclusion, she refused to appear in the marriage gathering. She also got someone to announce a piece of news. It was that she already had a male whom she liked. However, as for who that male was, she wanted to personally tell everyone after she got out. Facing that situation, even the prestigious villa expressed helplessness. After all, Ziling's status was special, and it was very difficult for them to request or order her. But in order to express an apology, the prestigious villa was quite sincere, and they urged all the people who participated in the marriage gathering to stay for a few more days and only leave after Ziling got out and announced the one she loved. It had to be said that Ziling's popularity was quite prosperous. Almost 90% of the males chose to stay behind, as they wanted to personally hear the person whom Ziling loved, and they also wanted to get an extra glance at the exceptional little beauty. Of course, there were also many people who were making super, peerless, huge, beautiful dreams, and hoped that they themselves was the person whom Ziling loved, and that Ziling would become their wife. A few more days after that, there was only one day to the agreed day set back then. From rumors, Ji Yan's and the others' preparations had almost finished, and 1,050,000 profound beads was basically gathered sufficiently. And also on that day, the vice head of the World Spirit Guild, Gao Qijie, who agreed to some of Chu Feng's requests, came to Chu Feng's residence. "My friend Chu Feng, these are the things you need. They were personally made for you in these days when I cultivated in seclusion." Gao Qijie gave a cosmos sack to Chu Feng. After Chu Feng examined it, he discovered that within the cosmos sack, there were 2 medicinal pellets and also 23 special attacking talismans. The forbidden medicine was extremely overbearing, and it was the most terrifying forbidden medicine that Chu Feng had seen before. If Chu Feng took that forbidden medicine, his cultivation could continuously leap 4 levels up, and he would step into the 7th level of the profound realm. With that, in addition to the lightning within his blood, Chu Feng's cultivation would be able to reach the 9th level of the profound realm. Even he knew how horrifying he would be if he was in the 9th level of the profound realm, while grasping an elite armament. And other than the extremely overbearing forbidden medicine, there was also a healing medicine, because when the rebound effects of the forbidden medicine came surging over, the healing medicine would more or less have some effects of easing the pain of the rebound. As for the 23 attacking talismans, they were even more impressive. The might contained within them was extremely terrifying. Not only could they easily break blue-colored spirit formations, if a heaven realm expert were to be struck head-on by the attacking talisman, it was likely that they would have more bad luck than good, and they could even disappear completely. Even normal blue cloak world spiritists couldn't create such attacking talismans. Only peak experts with extremely abundant experience, extremely profound strength, and the ability to use the power of spirit formations extremely cleverly could create them. Vicehead Gao, sorry for the troubles. I, Chu Feng, have engraved this favor in my heart, and in the future, I will certainly repay you. Chu Feng looked at Vicehead Gao in detail, and he discovered that the old man, within the short few days, actually aged quite a bit. Both of his eyes sank inwards, and they were lifeless. His face was also pale white without blood, and it was as if he was suffering from a heavy illness. Without even thinking, Chu Feng knew the reason why Vicehead Gao became so haggard. Doubtlessly, it was because he exhausted a lot of his spirit, and even used up his life in order to make those things for Chu Feng. It could be said that he paid an extremely large price. My friend Chu Feng, please don't say that. I am the vice head of the World Spirit Guild, yet I cannot protect you. I feel ashamed in my heart. Vicehead Gao helplessly sighed, and his face was filled with shame. Vicehead, the World Spirit Guild is truly a very good force of power. Although I have only been in the World Spirit Guild for a very short amount of time, many people from the World Spirit Guild have gave me a very close feeling. You, for example, you were originally unrelated to me, but you've done so much for me only because I'm a member of the World Spirit Guild. I, Chu Feng, truly express my gratitude from my heart, so please do not feel ashamed, because the one who should feel ashamed is me, Chu Feng. I know what kind of person I am the most. I am a person who doesn't think of the consequences when doing things, is extremely rash, and loves to get into trouble. No one can clean after me because he would never finish. However, since I, Chu Feng, have the ability to get into trouble, I also have the ability to get out of trouble. I can similarly live quite well by relying on myself. So, don't worry. Tomorrow, I will certainly safely leave this place. They cannot keep me here, and they will pay the price for their greed. Chu Feng vowed sincerely, and as he spoke those words, he was filled with confidence. And seeing Chu Feng, who was acting like that, Vicehead Gao relaxedly smiled and said, I must say that you are the most insane young person I have never seen. But at the same time, you are also the young man whom I admire the most. Chu Feng's plan was very simple. When he discovered that Ji Yan and the others were already determined, and no matter what the price, had to take away his Asura ghost axe, Chu Feng decided to make a plan against their plan. He lied about making a trade with Ji Yan and the others. In reality, he had never intended to make a trade. He wanted to use their desires of wanting his elite armament to trick 1,000,000 profound beads from them, and use them to increase his own cultivation. After getting the profound beads, not to mention cutting off his own arm, he wouldn't even leave the elite armament behind. He would unhesitantly leave. The forbidden medicine, an attacking talisman he wanted from Vicehead Gao, was prepared exactly for that. Although his preparations were quite sufficient, it could not be denied that there were still huge risks within his plan. It could be said to be a situation where he could only succeed and not fail. If he failed, what Chu Feng was going to face was death, and no one would be able to save him. On that morning, Chu Feng woke up early, and he put the horrifying forbidden medicine into his mouth. He sat within the palace's hall, and silently awaited the arrival of Ji Yan and the others. The World Spirit Guild's vice head Gao, Xu Zhongyu, Gu Bo, and the others had already arrived at an early time within the hall that was decided to be the trading location back then, and stood behind Chu Feng. Boom. Finally, the shut door to the palace suddenly opened, and 7 bodies speedily flew in. They were none other than Ji Yan, Qin Lei, and the others. Bang. After entering, Ji Yan did not waste any time with words, and he directly threw the 7 cosmos sacks in front of Chu Feng, then said, "1,000,000 profound beads, not one less. There are even 50,000 extra gifted to you for free. Carefully examine it. After confirming that there isn't any error, hand your Asura ghost axe over, then cut off your right hand." As he spoke, Ji Yan did not move, but Qin Lei and the others behind him went into a circular formation and from all directions surrounded Chu Feng. It could be seen that they were also afraid that Chu Feng would take the money but not do the deed by turning around and escaping. After all, within the underground palace in the 1,000-monster mountain that day, they had also seen the bodily martial skill Chu Feng displayed. They had no choice but to prepare against that speed, and Chu Feng did not restrain himself. With the wave of his big sleeve, he sucked the 7 cosmos sacks into his palm. Quickly after, he used his spirit power to check, and he discovered that indeed, there were 1,050,000 profound beads, not one less, and it was genuine. At that instant, Chu Feng's heart was in ecstasy. 1,050,000 profound beads. It was absolutely a huge number, and it enabled his cultivation to rise greatly. After putting the profound beads away, Chu Feng slowly stood up and released the Asura ghost axe from his palm out. He swept his gaze towards the 7 people and said, "Everyone, of course I keep my promise, but who should I hand this Asura ghost axe over to?" Gulp. After seeing the Asura ghost axe in Chu Feng's hand, the gazes of the 7 people all lit up, and some people couldn't even help gulping because the elite armament was not a normal elite armament. It was an elite armament that could recognize its master, and any person would want to possess an elite armament that could do that. I need to bring this elite armament back to my clan and let my chief personally lay a formation. He will study this in order to open it. Just at that time, Ji Yan dully spoke. The crowd did not object Ji Yan's words. It could be seen that before, they had already discussed who the Asura ghost axe was going to be given to for handling. "That's fine, Elder Ji Yan, catch." Chu Feng lightly smiled, then immediately afterwards he waved his big sleeve and threw the Asura ghost axe over. But the angle in which Chu Feng threw it was very strange. It was a typical high toss. At that instant, everyone's gazes couldn't help being attracted by the Asura ghost axe, and also at that instant, Chu Feng had already swallowed the forbidden medicine in his mouth, and it was quickly being refined. Coincidentally, the lighting in Chu Feng's blood also rapidly surged, and when lightning patterns emerged into Chu Feng's eyes, his aura also invisibly rose quickly. 4th level, 5th level, 6th level, 7th level, 8th level, 9th level. It was exactly the same as Chu Feng's predictions, and Chu Feng's cultivation rose into the 9th level. At that instant, Chu Feng could clearly feel how scary the power in his body was. The power was so strong that it almost surpassed the range of what his physical body could endure, and it was as if it would explode out of his body. Bang. Suddenly, Chu Feng leaped and became a row of light as he flew. He did not escape towards the palace door. He went straight up the palace and flew away. Crap, he wants to escape. At that very instant, everyone's gazes were on the Asura ghost axe, and there was no one who paid attention to Chu Feng. When they discovered that something was off, Chu Feng already flew away, and with lightning-like speed, he blew open the ceiling of the palace and flew upwards. Grabbed the Asura ghost axe first. Seeing that, Ji Yan's face changed and he waved his big sleeve. A wave of boundless suction power appeared, and he grasped Chu Feng's Asura ghost axe into his hand. Almost in the instant that the Asura ghost axe entered his hand, Ji Yan finished laying a spirit formation and covered the Asura ghost axe within. He wanted to cut off Chu Feng's control over the Asura ghost axe. However, just as the spirit formation finished enveloping it, the Asura ghost axe in his hand became a strand of light and disappeared. Haha, idiot old guy. Do you truly think you can cut off the connection between me and my Asura ghost axe? This axe is already one with me. It is born as I wish and destroyed as I wish. Other than me, no one else can control it. Just at that moment, Chu Feng's unrestrained mad laughter that was filled with ridicule rang out from the sky above. Raising their heads to look, people discovered that Chu Feng already jabbed through the palace and made a huge hole. Presently, he was flying into midair, and his hand was still grasped on the Asura ghost axe. Kill him and don't leave him alive. At that instant, Ji Yan was incomparably furious. He never would have thought that he, who had already made good preparations beforehand, would still be played around by Chu Feng. This little swindler dares to make a fool of us like this. Today, he is bringing the disaster upon himself, and he cannot escape it. So we cannot be blamed for ignoring the life-saving favor that day to take his life. At the same time, the other 6 heads were gnashing their teeth in anger because of Chu Feng. Their complexions changed greatly, and one after another, they flew and chased after Chu Feng. However, why would Chu Feng just stand where he was to wait for them? Even though the current Chu Feng had extremely powerful strength and could fight against those in the Heaven Realm, when facing 7 experts in the 5th level of the Heaven Realm and also an experienced Blue Cloak World Spiritist, he did not dare to be careless. So his goal was very clear. It was to escape. However, before Chu Feng flew away for too far, the air in front of him started to wiggle and change. A boundless blue-colored spirit formation appeared and sealed the sky at that location and blocked Chu Feng's path. It was a spirit formation, and it was obviously laid by someone beforehand. As long as one saw that Chu Feng broke the agreement, someone would open the spirit formation, and the goal was to prevent Chu Feng from escaping. Chu Feng, where are you going to escape now? Indeed, just as the spirit formation opened up, 2 bodies flew up from below. They were 2 elders from the Jai clan, and both of them had the cultivation of the 1st level of the Heaven Realm. Good timing. I'll take this chance to use you 2 to test the might of my Asura ghost axe. However, why would the current Chu Feng be afraid of them? He suddenly waved the Asura ghost axe in his hand, and a crescent-shaped blade of light explosively shot out. The blade of light was a dozen or so meters long, and it was black-colored, yet it emitted faint luster. As it came surging forth, it brought howls like wolves and ghosts, and even cracks appeared in the spaces where it passed. Crap! At that instant, the faces of the 2 elders from the Jai clan changed greatly, and they hid and cursed because, within the black-colored crescent-shaped blade of light, they felt the aura of fatality. But the time was late, and the blade of light flew through them, and with a poof, the 2 experts in the 1st level of the Heaven Realm were chopped in half, and even their consciousnesses were destroyed. Their lives was completely lost. Haha, the might of this axe is indeed powerful. With it in my hand and with my current cultivation, those under the 3rd level of the Heaven Realm will all be unable to defeat me. At that very instant, Chu Feng stood straight in the horizon, and he was incomparably elated. The chop just now was him only trying out its damage, and he didn't use his full power yet. If he used his full power, the bodies of the 2 people would certainly be shattered and their bones crushed. Perhaps before the blade of light even reached them, they would be smashed into 2 piles of meat paste. Let me see if you can cut this spirit formation apart. Being joyful was being joyful, so the current Chu Feng didn't dare to be slow in any way. He flew forward and waved the axe in his hand again. This time, the black-colored blade of light was even several meters wider than before, and its power was also several times more powerful. The space wiggled and twisted, and even the air was cut into 2. The spiritual energy, origin power, and profound power in the air were unable to hold the majesty back, and they dispersed. Boom! Finally, the black-colored blade of light collided into the blue-colored spirit formation, and the berserk energy instantly became berserk vortexes of ripples and swept through the air. Look what's happening. The sudden scene caused people to be astonished. Within the prestigious villa, many people who did not know the truth were attracted by the deafening noise, and they raised their hand to look towards the horizon. That seems to be Chu Feng. What is he doing? What's the thing in his hand? Although the distance was very far, some sharp-eyed people immediately recognized Chu Feng. But compared to Chu Feng himself, the Asura ghost axe in his hand clearly attracted more attention, even though, at that very instant, they were unable to feel the power of the Asura ghost axe. The overbearing appearance of the Asura ghost axe couldn't help but attract their attention as long as they looked at the distance. They would even be shocked and felt that it was not a simple elite armament. Ji Yan is indeed very impressive. The spirit formation he laid is still not something that I can break with my own power. Although the ripples were still spreading out, with Chu Feng's sharp spirit power, he still detected that his axe was unable to break apart the spirit formation, which meant that Ji Yan's methods were indeed very strong. Chu Feng firmly believed that if the spirit formation was laid by Zi Ling, his axe could absolutely be able to easily break it apart. Yet currently, Chu Feng had no way of breaking the spirit formation Ji Yan laid. That indicated a problem. Even though they were both Blue Cloak World Spiritists, there was still strong and weak in terms of spirit formation strength. The strong and weak had an inseparable relationship with the martial cultivation strength of the world spiritist. Chu Feng, I've already laid an inescapable net here. You no longer have any road to escape. Just at that time, a thunder-like voice rang out behind Chu Feng. Ji Yan and the others had caught up. An inescapable net. Today, I'll break through your inescapable net. Chu Feng coldly snorted, then lightly slid past his cosmos sack with his left hand, and an attacking talisman appeared in his hand. Go! He lightly flicked his finger and the attacking talisman explosively shot out. Quickly after, with a boom, the blue-colored spirit formation exploded open, and a large hole appeared. Seeing that, Chu Feng loudly laughed, then urged the Azure Dragon underneath him to fly past and go through the hole in the spirit formation. God damn, that damn old guy in the World Spirit Guild. He did indeed hiddenly help this brat. At that instant, with a single glance, Ji Yan could see that the attacking talisman Chu Feng used was something that ordinary people were unable to create. Such an attacking talisman, in the entire continent of the 9 provinces right now, perhaps only people from 3 powers could create it. It would be the Jiang dynasty, the Jai clan, and also the World Spirit Guild. The first 2 would naturally not help Chu Feng, so without thinking, Ji Yan knew who helped Chu Feng. Undoubtedly, it was his archenemy Gao Qijie. HMPH. But I would quite like to see how many attacking talismans you have. Open all spirit formations. Let me see how many he can break through. However, Ji Yan was unafraid as he knew that he had something to rely on. Even if it was Gao Qijie who created attacking talismans like those, he needed to exhaust an extremely large amount of spirit. Before, Gao Qijie would not create the talismans for no reason at all, so even if he created them, it should be as preparation for Chu Feng's escape, meaning that he created them within these 10 days. Within 10 days, even if Gao Qijie never-endingly created talismans, he at most made a few more, or else it would damage his life expectancy, and it would even affect his future cultivation attainments. Although several attacking talisman could break open several spirit formations, in these 10 days, Ji Yan was not lying around in leisure. With the palace that Chu Feng lived in as the center, he laid 13 spirit formations that sealed this land. So he felt that even if Chu Feng had attacking talismans, he would still have no road of escape asterisk asterisk indeed. After Ji Yan angrily yelled, the Jai clan experts who were already located within the spirit formation started to activate the spirit formations that were laid beforehand. 12 blue-colored spirit formations charged straight into the sky and opened. It sealed the sky, and it was exceptionally grand. so much that the observing crowd in the prestigious villa were dumbfounded, and they continuously yelled in shock. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk. But quickly after, Chu Feng broke open all the spirit formations that were separated in the sky and flew past all of them. The mouths and eyes of the people who watched were all askew, and their faces were filled with astonishment. How is this possible? How can he possess so many attacking talismans? Seeing that Chu Feng was unstoppable on the road and had actually broke open all 13 spirit formations that he laid, Ji Yan's former calmness was no more, and replacing it was a face filled with shock. The most important part was that Chu Feng's speed was too quick. In a situation where there were no obstacles, even Ji Yan could not catch up to him. They just saw Chu Feng riding a little Azure Dragon, and with bursts of laughter, disappeared into the horizon like a strand of smoke. Damn it, truly damn it, that brat actually escaped. God damn, it was 1,050,000 profound beads. 1,050,000. Seeing Chu Feng escape, the head of the Xianxia School, the head of the Fire God School, and the others grinded their teeth in anger, and the fists that were clenched in their sleeves crackled. Ji Yan, didn't you say you made preparations for everything, and that Chu Feng would absolutely not able to run away? What is this damn situation right now? With circumstances such as those, some people switched their fury over to Ji Yan. Normally, they would absolutely not dare to speak to Ji Yan like that. But the current times were not like the past. Their losses were really too big, and they were no longer able to control their fury. HMPH. My preparations were originally completely perfect, and not to mention Chu Feng. None of you should even think of breaking open the spirit formations I laid. However, I could do nothing about someone hiddenly helping. What am I able to do if they grant Chu Feng special attacking talismans? As he spoke, Ji Yan cast his gaze towards the palace that Chu Feng lived in before. On top of the palace, there were a few figures standing straight in the air, and they were the people from the World Spirit Guild. Damned World Spirit Guild, they are truly a hindrance. God damn, they are really relying on power to bully others. My Fire God School isn't finished with his World Spirit Guild. HMPH, I'll let them be so conceited. One day, I will make them pay the price for today's actions. After hearing Ji Yan's words, Qin Lei and the others cast their bloodlust gazes towards the bodies of Vice Head Gao and the others. After today's matter, they no longer had any good impressions towards the World Spirit Guild. Chu Feng has finally successfully escaped. Vice Head Gao did not care about the gazes of hatred at all. What he was worried about was only Chu Feng's safety. Seeing Chu Feng successfully escape, a relieved smile emerged onto his drained face. Xu Zhongyu behind him, as well as the many super-powerful elders from the World Spirit Guild, reacted similarly. They all felt happy for Chu Feng's safe escape. However, compared to them, Ji Yan and the others had gloomy faces, and they were endlessly dispirited. 1,050,000 profound beads. It was truly not a small number, yet it was swindled away by Chu Feng just like that. The most important thing was that, who were they? They were the most distinguished characters in the continent of the 9 provinces. Yet they let a brat who was only 16 years old escape from their layers of encirclement. They truly had no face, and they felt that they were in quite a difficult situation. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, but suddenly, Ji Yan's eyes lit up, and his ears suddenly twitched. A barely detectable hint of shock appeared on his face, and quickly after, he cast his gaze towards the horizon that Chu Feng escaped towards, and the corners of his mouth rose into an angle of reassurance. Hu tilde tilde. At that instant, by Chu Feng's side, bursts of violent wind constantly blew past, but Chu Feng still speedily went forward. Even though the current him had already escaped the prestigious villa, he still did not dare to have any bit of carelessness. After all, in order for him to have his current strength, he consumed a super strong forbidden medicine. After the forbidden medicine effects fade away, not only would he lose his current extreme speed and lose his current strength in cultivation, his body would even receive the rebound of the medicine's power, and he would endure intense agony. In a situation like that, not only mention continuing running, it would be extremely difficult for Chu Feng to even walk a single step. So, before the power of the medicine fade away, Chu Feng had to hurry with his full strength to find a safe place to hide himself. And the farther that place was to the prestigious villa, the better. Asterisk swish 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 asterisk, but suddenly, all around Chu Feng, blue-colored gas appeared, and like a swimming dragon, the blue-colored gas kept on surging around Chu Feng's surroundings and flew along Chu Feng. Also, there was more and more of the gas, and at the end the blue-colored gas was all around Chu Feng. This is blue-colored spirit formation power. Facing that change, Chu Feng was suddenly surprised because he could determine that the blue-colored gas that gathered more and more was precisely the blue-colored spirit formation power that only Blue Cloak World spiritists had. And just as Chu Feng detected something was off, the blue-colored spirit formation power already interweaved together and formed a huge round ball, imprisoning Chu Feng within. Break! Chu Feng didn't dare to move slowly, and he quickly pulled out an attacking talisman and threw it out. However, the thing that greatly surprised Chu Feng was that his attacking talisman did not have any effects on the spirit formation at all, even though extremely strong attacks could still explode. Indeed, he could not move the spirit formation in the slightest. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk. After failing the first time, Chu Feng continuously threw several more attacking talismans again, and he also threw them in the exact same spot. Even though there were some effects after throwing several talismans at the same spot and exploding, they were still unable to shatter the spirit formation. The thing that shocked Chu Feng the most was that layers and layers of spirit formations were condensing, and at that very moment, countless layers had already been condensed, and they were so tight that even wind couldn't pass through, thoroughly imprisoning Chu Feng within. What person is doing this in the dark? Chu Feng tightly frowned. He knew that even Ji Yan could not do such powerful methods, and very likely, the person who blocked his path was an extremely scary person. Chu Feng, you truly have huge nerves. And just at that time, suddenly, a fierce yell rang out next to Chu Feng's ears. That sound was extremely deafening, as if a thunder exploded within Chu Feng's ears. It shook Chu Feng so much that his brain hummed. He swayed and almost fell off from the Azure Dragon under him. Quickly afterwards, the blue-colored spirit formation in front of Chu Feng started to wiggle, and at the end, a huge door formed. From the middle of the door, a black-clothed middle-aged man stepped out. That man's eyebrows extended to his temple, and his eyes were like swords. He had a head of jet-black long hair that scattered along his shoulders, blending with his clothes that were as black as ink. He appeared violent and unrestrained, yet incomparable dangerous, because Chu Feng astonishedly discovered that the middle-aged man's cultivation had actually reached the 6th level of the heaven realm. Although he was only one level stronger than Ji Yan, the strength of the two people was like the distance between the sky and the earth, not only in terms of cultivation. That middle-aged man's comprehension in martial cultivation and also his own talent were far above Ji Yan. In front of that man, even if Chu Feng's cultivation rose greatly and grasped an elite armament, he still felt extremely powerless, as if he was an ant facing a huge elephant. The strength of the two could not even be compared. You're the chief of the Jai clan, Ji Xingpeng. Chu Feng asked in a low voice because he felt that having that strength at his age as well as the special black-colored clothing unique to the Jai clan meant that he was definitely the chief of the Jai clan. You are quite smart. I am indeed the chief of the Jai clan, Ji Xingpeng. Chu Feng, you have focused your attacks on my Jai clan many times before, and now, you even dare to openly cheat away my clan's profound beads. Your crimes are unforgivable. Before death, what words do you have to say? Ji Xingpeng asked. As he spoke, he stood high in the sky as if he was a god questioning a commoner. Ho, it is truly the chief of the Jai clan. I, Chu Feng, really do have face, and even the grand chief of the Jai clan has been moved because of me. Chu Feng laughed loudly, then quickly after said, "What words do I have to say? It's you who wants me to say something, right? Ha ha, smart. Speak the truth. I don't believe that a brat like you truly came from the desolate Azure Dragon School. Even if you did come from that place, your abilities were absolutely not learnt there. I want to know who your master is and who passed your current abilities down to you. You even grasp secret skills and even gained the approval of an elite armament." Ji Xingpeng asked. It could be seen that he already knew about Chu Feng. "HMPH, my master. If I told you my master's name, you would be frightened to death. But you are still not worthy enough to know his name. If you dare, touch my finger and try. He will undoubtedly avenge me and completely annihilate your Jai clan." Chu Feng coldly snorted, seeing that there were no other methods, and since he saw that Ji Xingpeng seemed a tiny bit afraid, he could only take the chance to scare him a bit. If he failed, he would die. "Ha ha, you really think that I'm afraid of the person behind you, your so-called master? I only want to know who is making you oppose my Jai clan. You want speak? That's fine. Today, I will kill you, strip you of your secret skill, take away your elite armament, then silently await the day that your so-called master searches for me for revenge. On that day, I'll remove him as well." Suddenly, Ji Xingpeng's gaze turned icy cold and layers of heaven power exploded out from his body and surged towards Chu Feng. Quickly after, they tightly surrounded Chu Feng and started to attack into his body. Seeing that, Chu Feng did not dare to be slow, and with a thought, a layer of faint green-colored gas armor encircled around him. He used the black tortoise armor technique. However, that was useless as the heaven power was really too strong. Even if Chu Feng had the black tortoise armor technique protecting him, it was still very difficult for him to fight against it. He felt powerful pressure lingering around his body and endlessly pressing into his physical body. His body was almost going to be squeezed and crushed, and in the next second, he was going to die. Boom, but in the moment of life and death, a boom rang out behind Chu Feng, and at the same time, the heaven power that surrounded Chu Feng had actually immediately disappeared as well. Also, an aged voice rang out behind Chu Feng. "Young man, Chu Feng's age is still small. How about you give an old man like me some face and spare his life?" After that voice rang out, Chu Feng felt a layer of soft power covering him, and then he quickly floated backwards. After Chu Feng's body stopped drifting and the power that covered him disappeared, Chu Feng astoundingly discovered that by his side, a familiar old man was standing there. That old man was none other than Zi Ling's grandfather, Zshuan. However, the feeling that the current Zshuan gave Chu Feng was still very strong. Even though Chu Feng right now was relying on the power of forbidden medicine, and his cultivation increased greatly, he was still unable to see through Zshuan's cultivation. Also, from Zshuan's calm appearance, one could tell that he was not afraid of Ji Xingpeng in front of him in the slightest. "Who are you?" Ji Xingpeng's sword-like brows slanted inwards and he coldly asked. "I am Chu Feng's friend." Zshuan squinted his eyes and kindly replied, "Friend, I'm asking for your name." Ji Xingpeng coldly snorted. "Oh, the name. My name is Zshuan. Zshuan ashamedly smiled. "You're Zshuan." Hearing that name, Ji Xingpeng's expression changed and a hint of shock emerged into his eyes. Young man, could it be that you've heard of my name?" Zshuan smiled and asked. Many years ago, the overlord of this Qin province was the thick-ground grass prince's mansion. The foundation of the mansion was very thick, and it had already titled itself as overlord of the Qin province for 300 years of time, suppressing all other forces in the Qin province. Within the borders of the Qin province, there was not a single power that could fight against the thick-ground grass prince's mansion. However, the silent and unknown prestigious villa suddenly rose in power a dozen or so years ago and defeated the thick-ground grass prince's mansion and became the overlord of the Qin province. All of that was related to one old man. This old man came to the prestigious villa to be a guest elder. It seems very simple, but in reality, it caused the prestigious villa to have world-flipping change. In a short few years of time, it expanded every day up until it surpassed the thick ground grass prince's mansion and became the overlord of the prestigious villa. And this old man who was like a legend, isn't it you, Zshwan? As Ji Xingpeng spoke, his eyes were tightly staring at Zshwan, and his gaze was very strange. Ha, I never would have thought that I would be that famous. However, outsiders don't understand these things well, so it seems like your Jai clan hiddenly investigated quite a few things. Zshwan laughed, then after, said a bit reminiscently, I do indeed have some relations with the previous head of the prestigious villa. We were old friends, and I was entrusted by him to stay in the prestigious villa as a guest elder and to take care of the prestigious villa. At first, the thick ground grass prince's mansion was too tyrannical. Seeing that the prestigious villa had the momentum to rise greatly in power, it dealt with the prestigious villa many times. It played tricks hiddenly and bullied in the open. That caused the people from the prestigious villa to be very fearful, and it was quite chaotic. I really could not continue looking, so I went into the thick ground grass prince's mansion to chat a few words to the mansion lord. But I never would have thought that he would actually take the initiative to send a letter to the Jiang dynasty, saying that his thick ground grass prince's mansion was inferior to the prestigious villa, and implored them to hand the Qin province over to the prestigious villa for handling. Although that result was not something I expected, it must be said that the lord of the thick ground grass prince's mansion really gave me face. Today, I want to bring Chu Feng away. I sincerely ask for you, Chief Jai, to forgive Chu Feng. I wonder if you can also give me some face. Zshwan's face had a light smile and his words seemed to be gentle, but in reality, he had hidden motives. He was exhibiting his own strength, and wanted to let Ji Xingpeng know the difficulty of the situation and retreat. Since even you, Senior Zshwan, has spoken, I will naturally give you this face. Today I will forgive Chu Feng, but in the future, if we meet again, I cannot guarantee that I won't attack him. Ji Xingpeng said. Then I thank you, Chief Jai. There were thanks on the surface, but in actuality, Zshwan did not express any gratitude. Haha, Senior Xuanyuan, you're truly too polite. But Senior Xuanyuan, since you're able to use your own strength to invoke fear in the thick ground grass prince's mansion, I'm sure that your strength must not be ordinary. I don't have any other intentions, but I do enjoy endlessly challenging the extreme to search for even higher realms in martial cultivation. So I would like to exchange some blows with you, Senior Xuanyuan. I wonder if you can grant me face. Ji Xingpeng was very cunning. Although he promised Zshwan he would forgive Chu Feng, actually, he did not truly plan to forgive Chu Feng. In the name of exchanging blows, he wanted to fight Zshwan. If he could not defeat him, then it would be fine. But if Zshwan was unable to defeat him, it was likely that Zshwan and Chu Feng would die by his hands today. Haha, that's fine. I have also heard that the Jai clan is the clan which has been continued for a long time. Today, since I have met with the chief of such a clan, it can be counted as fate, so let me experience the strength of the Jai clan's chief. Suddenly, Zshwan's robe fluttered, and quickly after, he disappeared where he was like a ghost. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Ji Xingpeng. Then Zshwan attacked. There were no showy martial skills. There were no dazzling bodily methods. There was no horrifying might. There was no lightning-like speed. He slowly threw out a palm, and with gentle power, without hurrying or rushing, pushed it towards Ji Xingpeng. However, Zshwan's palm that was full of loopholes, and even lacking threat, caused Ji Xingpeng's face to suddenly change, and a touch of fear even emerged into his eyes. He loudly yelled, used a high-level mysterious technique, and revolved his entire body's heaven power. His left hand was clenched into a fist and hugged around his waist, and his right hand was spread open and thrown in front of chest. He threw his palm out similarly, and pushed towards Zshuanyuan's palm. Although they were both striking with palms, the might of the two people were completely different. As Ji Xingpeng struck with his palm, Chu Feng could clearly see that the space around him twisted and trembled. Boundless heaven power surged out and entered into his body. The palm's might did not allow for any underestimation, and even a towering mountain peak would be shattered by his palm. However, just as Ji Xingpeng's palm of such fierceness was going to get near Zshuanyuan's palm, it had suddenly started to decrease in speed, and at the end, it only lightly stuck onto Zshuanyuan's palm. There was no boom as imagined, and there was no explosion as imagined. The palms of the two had actually lightly combined together just like that. However, the collision that seemed to be gentle wasn't as peaceful as it was on the surface. Almost in the instant that the two people's palms touched, Ji Xingpeng suddenly walked one step back, and the strong power had actually caused cracks to appear in the air from him stepping. Quickly after, extremely powerful might exploded out of his body, and the heaven power around him started to surge into his body even fiercely. In the air, one could clearly see the formless heaven power stirring the air and like a vortex entered Ji Xingpeng's body. Ji Xingpeng was currently using special methods to condense heaven power. He truly used everything he had and used his full power. But even so, Ji Xingpeng was still unable to move Zshuanyuan. Rather, as he gnashed his teeth, he walked one step back once again. "Senior Xuanyuan, I concede." Finally, Ji Xingpeng loudly yelled, and also as Ji Xingpeng yelled that out, Zshuanyuan retracted his palm and indifferently smiled. He had that relaxed expression from start to finish, as if he didn't even use any strength at all. But looking back at Ji Xingpeng, the chief of the Jai clan, the expert in the 6th level of the heaven realm, his face was pale white and large droplets of sweat fell. He breathed roughly with large breaths, and even the hand that he fought against Zshuanyuan with was slightly trembling. It was as if his power was going to be drained away. "Senior Zshuanyuan, you are indeed exceptional. I sincerely accept my inferiority, and I shall say my farewells today here." Ji Xingpeng's face was very unsightly as he bowed to Zshuanyuan. Then, after he meaningfully looked deeply at Chu Feng, he waved his big sleeve and dispelled the surrounding spirit formation, and without even turning his head back, he flew towards the distance. "Wah, Elder Xuanyuan, I never would have thought that you were this powerful. Even Ji Xingpeng isn't able to defeat you." After Ji Xingpeng left, Chu Feng's mouth was widely opened as he carefully looked at Zshuanyuan, and his gaze was filled with little stars of adoration. "HMPH. He is but a young person, yet he even wants to fight against me. Just now, if I used just a tiny bit more strength, he would have definitely been patted into meat paste by me." Zshuanyuan coldly snorted and his face was filled with smug. "Elder Xuanyuan, since you could have easily killed him, why did you kill him just now?" After hearing those words, Chu Feng's widened mouth couldn't help but widen even more. "Cultivators don't easily appear. I never easily take another person's life, even if it is the Black Toad King that had thought of harming my precious granddaughter. I still carried a benevolent heart and let it and its son go." Zshuanyuan smiled and said, "What, aren't you letting it back to its base and causing endless future troubles?" Chu Feng's face was filled with amazement, and he had no way of understanding Zshuanyuan's actions. "Who, the Black Toad King? Even if it cultivates for another 100 years, it will not be able to defeat me. Besides, its nature isn't bad, and by sparing its life, it is intensely grateful, so why would it possibly take revenge on me?" Zshuanyuan shook his head. "I'm not talking about the Black Toad King. I'm talking about Ji Xingpeng. After all, the Jai clan's force of power is enormously large, and it even has an elite armament. They shouldn't be underestimated," Chu Feng worriedly said. "Ho, the Jai clan. Other than that old guy who has been in seclusion for over 100 years, who else in his Jai clan can defeat me? Besides, even if that old guy comes out, he may not be able to gain advantages from my hands. On the continent of the 9 provinces, other than the current dynasty's old ancestor in the Jiang dynasty, who am I afraid of? Xuan flung his sleeve and his face was filled with disdain. The old guy in seclusion in over 100 years. Could it be? Could it be the exceptional genius that year? Chu Feng was many times more shocked. Other than him, who else can it be? The Jai clan and the World Spirit Guild fearlessly sit stably on the throne of the #1 powers, as they know they have support behind them. How can it not be because of those 2 old things who fortifies their position? Others don't know that they are painstakingly cultivating in seclusion, but I know. Xuan curled his lips and said, "This, over 100 years, yet they are actually still living in this world." Elder Xuanyuan, then what should the cultivation of those 2 be right now? Chu Feng curiously asked closely because his relationship with the Jai clan was already like water and fire. In the present, one Ji Xingpeng was already strong enough. Yet there was an extra old monster who had lived for over 100 years, and had also swept through the continent before. Chu Feng felt that it wasn't a good thing. They should be. Wait. You brat, you want to take this chance to inquire about my cultivation. Xuan contemptibly looked at Chu Feng. No. I truly don't have any intentions like that. I'm just curious. Chu Feng hurriedly shook his head, and his head was like a pellet drum. Although the Jai clan person was indeed an old monster, Xuan's strength was also similarly like a monster, and Chu Feng could not afford to offend him. You boy, your nerves truly cover the sky, and you dare to do anything. Don't worry, it was only an exception today. After today, no matter what dangers you meet, I will no longer come out to help you. Even if you get skinned, your tendons pulled, and you beaten to death alive in front of me, I will still put my hands in my sleeves and only watch. Poof after hearing those words, Chu Feng almost spit out some of his heart's blood because there was simply no one like Xuan who dejected others in such a way. Okay, quickly leave. I believe that Ji Xingpeng won't follow you anymore. Xuan didn't even care what expression Chu Feng had, and he waved his hand towards Chu Feng. No matter what, I, Chu Feng, am grateful towards you for saving my life. If there is ever a chance, I will definitely repay you. Chu Feng respectfully clasped his hands and bowed to Xuan. He did not blame him, even though he said he would not save him in the future. After all, Xuan was unrelated to him, and he didn't have any reason to save him. Today, saving him once was already because he had good luck, so Chu Feng should be extremely thankful for this favor and engrave it in his heart. Okay, quickly leave, or else if Ji Yan, Qinlei, and the others catch up, even I won't help you. That's right. Hang this on your body, and within 1 month, don't leave the Qin province. Suddenly, Xuan seemed to have thought of something, and he took out a triangular blue talisman from his pocket and handed it over to Chu Feng. Positional talisman. Chu Feng's pupils shrunk. As a world spiritist, naturally, Chu Feng recognized that thing. It was a type of positional talisman, and as long as Chu Feng put that on his body, it would be a lot easier for the owner of the positional talisman to find Chu Feng. Of course, although the positional talisman could determine the position of the person, there were still limitations of distance. The blue-colored positional talisman was of an extremely high-level type. Even if it was a normal blue cloak world spiritist, they would not be able to produce it. Only people like Vicehead Gao could, but they would still need to use quite a bit of power. No need to look at it. It's not that I want to find you, but that girl told me to hand this over to you. Today, the reason why I came out to save you was also because she entrusted me on this. Seeing Chu Feng's face being filled with strangeness, Xuan shot him a glance. It's Ziling He. After hearing those words, Chu Feng's heart warmed, Ever since returning to the prestigious villa, Ziling isolated herself and cultivated. She would not see anyone, and Chu Feng even thought that she forgot about the kindness and betrayed righteousness, and forgot about him saving her life that day. He thought that she turned her face to the other side and feigned ignorance. He didn't expect that the girl was still thinking about himself. "Okay, I'll take my leave here. Take care." As Zshuan spoke, he stood up with both of his hands behind his back, floated up, and with a blink he disappeared. That speed was indeed not something Chu Feng could catch up with, and Chu Feng also didn't dare to be slow. Currently, no short amount of time had been wasted, and the medicinal power of the forbidden medicine could not keep up too much longer. Chu Feng had to quickly find a place to safely dodge the danger. So Chu Feng urged the Azure Dragon under him, and with a flash, headed towards a direction that was different to Ji Xingpeng's and flew. Obviously, he did not want to meet with him again. Chu Feng's speed was very quick, so quick that those in the 5th level of the Heaven Realm could not catch up with him. Almost instantly, he disappeared into the horizon. Short after Chu Feng left, within some clouds, Zshuan appeared. He smiled and said, "Although this boy doesn't have a kind heart and has extremely heavy killing intents, he is quite worthy of my granddaughter." With the dragon traveling through 9 heavens, Chu Feng flew at full speed. However, after flying for merely 4 hours, the power of the forbidden medicine started to quickly fade, and the feeling of the rebound started to surge forth. In that situation, Chu Feng also didn't dare to continue hurrying, and in the nearest place, he chose a not very big mountain range and hid inside. The most dangerous place is the safest place. There were indeed certain truths in that phrase. The mountain range that was unordinary was absolutely not the best area to hide, but exactly because of that, perhaps it would always be neglected by the people who search. So, Chu Feng felt that this was rather a good place for hiding. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk. After entering the mountain range, Chu Feng grasped the Asura ghost axe and wildly swung. Forcefully on a rock mountain, he dug out a mountain cave. After digging the mountain cave, he first laid many detection spirit formations outside the cave. Then after that, laid concealment spirit formations in the entrance of the cave, letting others to be unable to discover that place. Only after doing all that did he relievedly hide inside. Very quickly, the power of the forbidden medicine's rebound started to increase. Even after consuming the healing pellet that Vice Head Gao gave Chu Feng, the pain was still extremely difficult for Chu Feng to endure. It was as though countless ants drilled into Chu Feng's body, and from veins, skin, and even organs, they tore and bit Chu Feng all over his body. Unendurable strange itchiness and incomparable pain. But very quickly, the excruciating agony disappeared, and closely after, what engulfed him was scorching hotness, as if Chu Feng fell into a stove. He was enduring the torture of a fiery ocean, and it was also as if there was a stove burning Chu Feng's body from the inside. As he was tormented by such horrifying heat, Chu Feng already ripped his clothing to shreds, and he was already bare naked while he rolled around within the cave. But even so, he was unable to endure the feeling of the heat. Finally, the hot feeling faded. Yet what Chu Feng did not expect was that the forbidden medicine's torturing still continued, and this time, it was bone-piercing coldness. So cold that Chu Feng shivered, and it was unbearable. It was as though he got transferred into a cave of ice. With that, occasionally, Chu Feng sweat with large droplets, and occasionally his entire body quivered. Occasionally, he clenched his heart and scratched his lungs, and occasionally, he beat his chest and stamped his feet. He was tortured to death and back. When it started, Chu Feng could even loudly yell to release his own pain. But afterwards, Chu Feng didn't even have the strength to yell, and he could only powerlessly limp on the ground, and would occasionally twitch. It had to be said that the rebound of this forbidden medicine was truly tormenting. It wouldn't cause people to faint away from pain. It would keep them clear and awake, to experience that pain with their entire body and heart. That was the price. To ask for power that did not belong to oneself meant that they had to pay the appropriate price for that. That was what forbidden medicine were. The current Chu Feng was paying that price, and in his entire life, it was the most unendurable physical pain that he had ever felt before. But Chu Feng did not regret it because he lived, and he even gained 1,050,000 profound beads because of that. Those profound beads would greatly increase Chu Feng's cultivation, and the distance to the 7th level of the profound realm would be one step closer. That also meant he was one step closer in saving the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei. So Chu Feng felt that everything was very worth it. Even if the price of the rebound was even more painful, even longer, it would still be worth it. It had to be said that Zsh Yuan's deterrence had an effect. Ji Xingpeng truly left, and he wasn't hiddenly following Chu Feng. So temporarily, Chu Feng was safe. However, as Chu Feng was getting filled with the pain of the forbidden medicines, rebound within the mountain cave, and receiving wave after wave of torment, the powers that had each lost 150,000 profound beads did not willingly take the unspoken grievance, and they made their moves. The Yuangang School, Fire God School, Hidden White Sect, Free and Unrestrained Valley, Sword God Valley, and Jai Clan, the 6 peak powers, offered heavy rewards and sent out wanted posters everywhere in the continent of the 9 provinces, and joined up to put out wanted posters for Chu Feng. As for the reason they put out the wanted posters, it was very absurd as well. They had actually said that Chu Feng took away the elite armament, Asura Ghost Axe, they, the powers, discovered within an ancient remains. Also, because of that, poisoned the experts of their powers and caused them to have heavy losses. They even said that Chu Feng was a plague. Even though he was very young, he had to be removed or else there would be endless disasters in the future. Facing such absurd statements, the World Spirit Guild did not stand out to say anything. After all, they had already helped Chu Feng before by helping him to successfully escape. And also exactly because of that, the Yuangang School and the other powers felt hatred in their hearts towards the World Spirit Guild, and some even wanted to attack the World Spirit Guild. In times like those, the World Spirit Guild could really no longer interfere with the matters between Chu Feng and other powers, or else that would be equal to burning themselves. As for the prestigious villa, they had unexpectedly not put out wanted posters, and they silently accepted the 150,000 profound beads that Chu Feng swindled away. As for why it was like that, doubtlessly, there was more or less some relation with Zsh It must be said that immediately after the wanted posters came out, commotion started to boil. After all, in the marriage gathering, Chu Feng already made his name in one go, and many people had lots of good impressions of Chu Feng, and felt that he was an outstanding genius. But they never would have thought that Chu Feng was a person like that. That caused many people's rising good impressions of Chu Feng to be instantly destroyed, especially with the exaggerations of the 6 big powers. Titles of being despicable, shameless, evil, sinister, were all fastened onto Chu Feng, and countless people felt disgusted towards him. On that day, 10 days had already passed since Chu Feng escaped from the prestigious villa. Everyone who was still participating in the marriage gathering regathered on the summit of the mountain peak. It was for no other reason but only because Ling, who had isolated herself for a long time, came out today, and also today, she was going to announce whom the person she loved was. I truly wonder who Lady Ling likes. It should be Ji Qingming, right? If it's not Ji Qingming, then it's Xu Zhongyu. After all, those two are the most excellent within those who are in this marriage gathering, and only they are worthy for Lady Ling. How is that possible? Haven't Ji Qingming and Xu Zhongyu already set a marriage with disciples of the prestigious villa? They have already set the marriage with Ling's seniors from the same villa, so how can such an intelligent and clever lady like Ling choose those two? That may not be so. Marriages can be set and they can similarly be destroyed. Besides, Lady Ling had secluded herself before the marriages were set, and the one whom she loves was already living in her heart. I believe that she is a lady who loves strongly. If she truly loves a person, even if that person has already set a marriage, she will still announce who the person she loves is, and she wouldn't switch because of that. At that instant, on the summit of the mountain peak, people formed mountains and oceans. People had many guesses regarding the person who Zi Ling liked, and many people felt that the possibility of that person being Ji Qingming and Xu Zhongyu was the biggest. But some people also felt that it was impossible, and on that topic people even started to argue. HMPH, Ji Qingming. Other than Ji Qingming, it's Xu Zhongyu. Other than those two, is there no one else in the young generation of the 9 provinces? Within the crowd of people, Tang Yishiu furiously spat out, and the faces of Bai Yunfei, Liu Xiaoyao, and Song Qingfeng, who were by his side, were also similarly displeased. To them who also got the invitation letters, they were really bitter because everyone only concentrated their focuses on the bodies of Ji Qingming and Xu Zhongyu. That's right. The young generation of 9 provinces is definitely not limited to only Xu Zhongyu and Ji Qingming. And the one who Lady Zi Ling loves will also definitely not be those two. It will be me, Murong Yu. Suddenly, a figure carrying the divine wood sword behind his back walked into their lines of sight. That person was the young valley head of the Sword God Valley, Murong Yu. HMPH. I've seen shameless people, but I haven't seen a person as shameless as you. After hearing Mu Rongyu's words, Song Qingfeng and the others coldly snorted. They who had deep pasts with Mu Rongyu were naturally very displeased towards him, and they would not endure Mu Rongyu as he bragged in broad daylight. What? Do you feel itchy and lack a beating? Mu Rongyu disdainfully swept his gaze over the 4 people, and he was incomparable domineering. You are only relying on your elite armament. If you don't have an elite armament, you may not be able to defeat me. Tang Yishiu howled bitterly, truly ignorant. Having elite armaments is also having skill. What? I have an elite armament, yet I'm not allowed to use it. If you can, get one as well. If you don't have that capability, don't tell others that they cannot use it. Mu Rongyu disdainfully said. Rubbish. Did you get that divine wood sword yourself? You only relied on the fact that you have a good grandfather. Bai Yunfei cursed. Having a good grandfather means that I've done plenty of good things in my past life, so that's why I have this luck in this life. There is no need for all of you to admire or envy. Don't do any more evil things in this life, and do more kind things. Perhaps you can even be cast into a good fetus in your next life. But looking at your current moralities and behaviors, I'm afraid that your next lives will be horrible. Mu Rongyu mocked, hiddenly indicating that the 4 of them wouldn't have a chance in this life and could only hope for the next. Yeah, on the topic of luck, your grandfather truly has some dog crap luck. Not only did he not die after being struck down a cliff, he even picked up an elite armament. But sadly, he was heavily injured from falling, and less than 2 years after picking up the elite armament, his legs went limp, and he died. He died, ha ha ha. Liu Xiaoyao also coldly mocked. Liu Xiaoyao, you are truly looking to die. And after hearing those words, Mu Rongyu's face suddenly turned cold. He pulled out the divine wood sword behind his back, and the boundless pressure swept towards Liu Xiaoyao. Asterisk boom asterisk, however. Before letting the pressure touch Liu Xiaoyao, a layer of ripple came exploding over, and after the ripple dissipated, people astonishedly discovered that a middle-aged man holding a foldable fan soundlessly appeared in front of Liu Xiaoyao, and that person was the head of the free and unrestrained valley. Valley head Murong, manage your own son. Right now we are united. Where is the propriety by harming each other like this? After the head of the free and unrestrained valley blocked that attack, he did not make things difficult for Mu Rongyu, and he only angrily yelled at a figure walking behind Mu Rongyu. That person was the father of Mu Rongyu, the head of the Sword God Valley. My Sword God Valley right now is in an alliance with the Xianxia School, the Fire God School, the Hidden White Sect, and the Free and Unrestrained Valley. In the future, you must not be so disorderly and cause troubles to the other seniors. Or else I will take your divine wood sword back." The eyebrows of the head of the sword god Valley slanted inwards, and he coldly reprimanded, "I won't dare anymore." Murong Yu was obviously very afraid of his father, especially after hearing that he was going to retake his divine wood sword. He hurriedly admitted his wrongs in fright. Seeing that scene, it also caused the faces of Tang Yishiu, Song Qingfeng, and the others to shine more brightly as they sneered on the side. "All of you also pay attention. In terms of age, you are even a bit older than Murong Yu. As the senior, can't you yield a bit to the junior?" However, just at that time, the head of the Free and Unrestrained Valley yelled at the four. The Free and Unrestrained Valley's relationship with the other powers was always very good, so the head of the Free and Unrestrained Valley was also equal to being their elder. Thus, Tang Yishiu and the others lowered their heads silently when facing the valley head's yells and didn't dare to talk back. I never would have thought that the God Sword Valley, who had always disliked the Yuangang School, Fire God School, Hidden White Sect, and Free and Unrestrained Valley, would surrender in front of benefits. Within the crowd, when Xu Zhongyu saw that scene, he couldn't help but lightly frown, and his gaze glittered because to his World Spirit Guild, that was not a good situation. It's all because of the Jai clan playing tricks behind their backs. If this continues, I'm afraid that sooner or later, my World Spirit Guild and the Jai clan will have a great battle. An elder from the World Spirit Guild said in a low voice, "No matter, we only need to endure one more year. 1 year later, it will be the time when they pay the price." The gaze of Vice-Head Gao became cold, and after hearing those words, Xu Zhongyu and the others who received the mental message were all taken aback, especially Gu Bo. He even hiddenly said, "1 year later, the old ancestor will come out. I truly want to see his glory. But Chu Feng, can you endure past this 1 year?" As long as he thought of Chu Feng, who was wanted by the peak 6 powers in the current 9 provinces, Gu Bo was extremely worried. "Look, Lady Ziling is coming." Just at that time, a shout suddenly rang out within the crowd, and quickly after, everyone's gazes couldn't help but sweep towards the distant horizon. At that instant, almost everyone's hearts couldn't avoid quickening, because over the horizon, an exquisite sedan chair, which was being carried by 4 Heaven Realm experts, gradually approached. The people on scene were no stranger to the special appearance style. It was the unique appearance of Ziling. As the foster daughter of Qin Lei, the head of the prestigious villa, Ziling's position in the prestigious villa could be said to be extremely high. Also, some people who had inside information also understood that Ziling also had an outstanding grandfather. The strength of that grandfather was perhaps no weaker than Qin Lei, maybe even more powerful than him. So everyone on scene, as long as it was a male, wanted to be the one who could set up a marriage with Ziling, and they wanted to capture the young female's heart. Finally, the sedan chair slowly descended, and following the gradual opening of the sedan chair's doors, Ziling also walked out and appeared within everyone's line of sight. Ziling today was indeed very pretty. Clear and shiny big eyes, eyelashes that were long and curled up. Eyes like those were very clean, and they were even more attracting than those fox-like eyes. There wasn't even a need to talk about Ziling's face. Extremely perfect oval face, small nose, pink cherry-like lips, snow-white and sparkling skin, and when adorned with the purple-colored skirt that was different from the crowd, it really bewitched innumerable people. Wah, she's too pretty. Such a female should only be able to appear in dreams, but I never would have thought that I could even see her in reality. I, in this very instant, am like arriving in the realm of dreams. If one has a beauty like Lady Ziling accompanying them in their life, what other wants would they even need? But I wonder who actually has such good luck and can gain the heart of Lady Ziling. No matter who is it, to be able to marry a beauty like Lady Ziling must be from the luck cultivated from their former life and the green smoke rising from ancestral tombs. Tien, from Beidou, a Feng Shui saying. Green smoke somewhat means green gas, and green gas is a lucky gas. It is a sign of very good luck. After Ling appeared, many yells rang out, and everyone was attracted by that young female's beautiful appearance. Everyone looked forward to the person Ling had in her heart.